Chapter 1195. At the start, the two were the most worried about him. The straw-caped old man's combat prowess was not much weaker than theirs. Hence, Yang Kai's first goal was to kill this person. Unexpectedly, he still managed to fool them. If Yang Kai really fought with Xiao Chen, the one who would benefit in the end would be this old man. Perhaps all the treasures would end up in this person's hands. Thinking of this, Yang Kai could not help feeling a chill down his spine. "You've really hidden yourself well," Yang Kai said through clenched teeth. The straw-caped old man smiled and said, "This old man has lived for more than 800 years. What kind of tricks have I not seen before? You are far from being able to scheme against me. Do you think that I did not notice the little tricks you used to communicate with this baldy on the way here?" Then, the straw-caped old man changed the topic and said indifferently, "However, it is good now. With a large group of people gone, we will be able to split more things. Humans should not be too greedy. Young man, don't you think so?" The meaning in the old man's words went without saying. If the two of them did not listen, Xiao Chen would stand on Xiao Chen's side and fight to the death with the two of them. No one would benefit from this. Yang Kai and Wu Ku exchanged glances and quickly discussed the pros and cons. Given the strength of Xiao Chen and the straw-caped old man, they would definitely be able to kill one of them if they worked together. If they continued to be stubborn, the losses would outweigh the gains. The two quickly came to a decision. Yang Kai squeezed out a smile and said, "Senior is right. We should not be too greedy. Let's start splitting now." "Wait a moment." Xiao Chen suddenly spoke. Then, he walked over to Dugu Ao's corpse step by step. Dugu Ao was no longer breathing, and his corpse was ice cold. The others did not know what Xiao Chen wanted to do. They only saw him cut his palm with his saber, letting drops of blood fall into Dugu Ao's mouth. As the blood slowly seeped into his body, Dugu Ao's pale complexion slowly turned rosy. In the end, his body completely recovered its vitality. Dugu Ao was a mixed-blood human and blood demon. Like the blood sword sovereign from 50,000 years ago, he was a mixed blood. Vampires had extremely long lifespans and wouldn't die so easily. Not too long after the other party's life force had been extinguished, fresh blood could be used to revive the other party. This was especially so for Dugu Ao. Xiao Chen had observed him along the way. This person was rather special. Even at the critical moment of the battle, he did not use his blood demon's innate talent. For some reason, he would rather die than use the blood race's innate talent. Xiao Chen did not have the time to think about the story behind this. He wanted to save this person because he did not want this person to die too pitifully. It was just a slight effort, so he wouldn't lose anything. Whoosh! Suddenly, Dugu Ao opened his eyes. His eyes were scarlet, containing an uncontrollable bloodthirsty murderous intent. "Die!" As Dugu Ao spoke coldly, he raised his hand and thrust it at Xiao Chen's chest. What incredible speed! Dugu Ao thrust his palm forward like a sharp blade, so fast that there was no sound of wind at all. It was like he instinctively thrust his palm into Xiao Chen's chest, trying to dig out his heart. Dugu Ao's attack seemed to be even faster than when he was not injured. Fortunately, Xiao Chen's palm was closer to him. At the critical moment, Xiao Chen took the initiative to strike Dugu Ao's chest, quickly pressing him down. The blade-like palm stopped about 1 centimeter away from Xiao Chen's chest, unable to go any further. Little Yellow Feather, who was circling in the air, looked like a beam of light as it flew over at lightning speed. Little Yellow Feather spread its wings and let out a sharp cry as it glared at Dugu Ao. The flames in its mouth looked like they would spew out at any moment. Xiao Chen knew that Dugu Ao attacked under the influence of his murderous intent. So, he did not bother with it. He only restrained the other party and waited for Dugu Ao to slowly recover. This fellow. Seeing Xiao Chen revive Dugu Ao, displeasure flashed in the eyes of Yang Kai, the bald Wu Ku, and the straw-caped old man. There was no other reason. With one more person, they would have to split the treasures. The red light in Dugu Ao's eyes slowly faded. That uncontrollable murderous chi slowly faded away. When Dugu Ao calmed down and saw Xiao Chen's appearance, he was slightly stunned. After a while, he said, "I owe you a favor." A favor was the hardest to owe and the hardest to repay. In this world of cultivators, everyone had their own pride. A favor was more important than the sky. Even a cultivator with a bad reputation would abide by these words. Xiao Chen smiled faintly and did not say anything more. It was just a small effort. Obtaining a favor was pretty good. Xiao Chen released his hand, no longer restraining the other party. Dugu Ao stood up and looked at Yang Kai and Wu Ku, who stood side by side. Then, he looked at the straw-caped old man and the corpses littering the burial ground. Then, he roughly guessed what happened after his death. As the straw-caped old man looked at Xiao Chen, he narrowed his eyes and smiled coldly. Unexpectedly, little brother still has a pure heart. However, this world is full of ingrates. In the future, if you get bitten by an ingrate, don't regret what you did today. Dugu Ao's expression froze, and a murderous chi flashed in his eyes. Xiao Chen asked indifferently, "Old sir, are you talking about me?" "I should say that I am definitely talking about myself. If I were not an ingrate, how could I have lived for more than 800 years with the cultivation of the blue-robed emperor? If I were not an ingrate, how could I be afraid of death, not even daring to undergo my great tribulation of wind and fire? Ingrates are indeed despicable. However, having an excuse to be an ingrate because there are ingrates in the world is even more despicable." Xiao Chen's words were like a knife stabbing into the straw-caped old man's heart, pricking the most sensitive part of his heart. Even with 800 years of self-restraint, the straw-caped old man could not endure it. His lips trembled as he roared, "You are seeking death." The straw-caped old man unleashed his aura, completely unleashing his horrifying cultivation. His heavy aura was like a huge mountain pressing towards Xiao Chen. The old man quickly swung his fishing rod, following this aura. The barbed hook silently flew towards Xiao Chen's throat. Xiao Chen reacted quickly. He pointed at the air, and a cold light flickered on his fingertip. Then, he pressed down heavily, shattering this faint but fatal fishing hook. A cold light flashed in the straw-caped old man's eyes. He pushed off the ground and sent a palm strike at Xiao Chen. Boom! 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 The old man's palm strike brought out his vast and heavy cultivation to its fullest. As he flew through the air, his aura was no weaker than that of the half-step Emperor Wu. Such a scene startled Yang Kai and Wu Ku. Fortunately, they did not attack Xiao Chen earlier. Given the straw-caped old man's strength, it would not be a problem for him to launch a sneak attack and injure the two of them in an instant. "If you want to play for real, I'll play with you." Xiao Chen stabbed the lunar shadow saber into the ground and raised his hand to execute the 1,000-year death. Petals flew everywhere, and a blood moon filled the air. Every petal contained Xiao Chen's grief and worry. The force in his palm strike was endless, showing only the sorrow of separation and no joy. Bang! The two palms clashed. Relying on his advantage in martial techniques, Xiao Chen fought the straw-caped old man, who had a much higher cultivation, to a draw. The straw-caped old man's heart trembled. The other party's grief silently seeped into his heart. Scenes of cruel memories from a long time flashed in his mind. The straw-caped old man, whose law energy was denser and surged, was the first to retreat in this clash of palm strikes. After he stood still, he no longer dared to make a move. This brat is not easy to deal with either. The 1,000-year death completely exposed Xiao Chen's strength. Now, Yang Kai and Wu Ku no longer dared to underestimate Xiao Chen. Never mind. So many people have died already. There is no need to make a big fuss. Let's split the treasures first. Yang Kai, who had single-handedly orchestrated this tragedy, acted as a peacemaker and spoke in a dignified manner. Xiao Chen scattered his palm strike and grasped the lunar shadow saber once more. Then, he looked coldly at the straw-caped old man and did not say anything more. Now that the straw-caped old man had a way out of this embarrassing situation, he did not continue to argue and calmed down again. The treasures started to be split. There were more than 25,000 essence stones. The 5 of them split them equally, leaving Xiao Chen with 5,000. For some reason, Dugu Ao did not say anything. He directly handed his share to Xiao Chen, not taking a single essence stone for himself. This action upset Yang Kai and Wu Ku. However, they could not afford to fall out with each other now. If they made a move on Xiao Chen and Dugu Ao, not to mention what kind of price they would have to pay, they would have to pay. In order to protect himself, the straw-caped old man would definitely not let the 2 of them succeed. No matter how he thought about it, there was no chance. As for the dragon race secret treasures, Dugu Ao gave his share to Xiao Chen. As for the complete true dragon remains, due to mutual distrust, no one agreed to let a single person keep it and split it after they got out. They could only dismantle it and distribute it to everyone. Given this, Xiao Chen obtained 10,000 essence stones, 3 peak-quality dragon race king grade secret treasures, and a set of true dragon remains. Xiao Chen was the one with the greatest harvest on this trip. Furthermore, he had obtained 100 dragon blood flowers from the dragon blood tree earlier. It could be said to be a great harvest. Yang Kai and Wu Ke had tried their best, but their gains were still not as good as Xiao Chen's. They were furious, but there was nothing they could do. I believe you all can tell that although this is a burial ground, the master of the dragon grave is not buried here. There are even greater benefits ahead. Should we work together to explore the depths of this dragon grave? Yang Kai suggested, feeling somewhat dissatisfied. The straw-caped old man was very shrewd with age. He remained expressionless and did not say anything. Clearly, he was waiting for Xiao Chen to speak. If Xiao Chen did not agree, the straw-caped old man absolutely would not travel with these 2 half-step Emperor Wu. Xiao Chen thought to himself, this dragon grave is extraordinary. The powerful killing move that Qing Emperor left behind is the best proof. Reason told Xiao Chen to quit while he was ahead. That was the best decision. However, the curiosity in Xiao Chen's heart was somewhat hard to quench. What kind of situation caused the Qing Emperor to leave behind a killing move and leave quietly? If Xiao Chen left just like that, he would not be able to solve this mystery for a long time. Just thinking about it was unfortunate. Fortunately, Xiao Chen was not a wishy-washy person. He quickly made up his mind and said, there is no harm in going and taking a look. If one did not figure out some things, one would not be at peace. Xiao Chen knew what kind of person he was. If he did not go and take a look, he would not give up. Chapter 1196. Dugu Ao said indifferently, I have no objections. Yang Kai looked at the straw-caped old man. Since both Xiao Chen and Dugu Ao agreed to travel together, naturally, the straw-caped old man would not reject them. Good. I just knew that everyone would not be satisfied with this little harvest. How can an 8-star dragon grave only have this little harvest? Yang Kai smiled coldly to himself as he led the way out of the burial ground. The others quickly followed. After crossing the burial ground, the group of people went deeper and deeper into the vast and complicated cavern. The further in they went, the denser the demonic qi became. There was only an indistinct and extremely illusory demonic qi in front. However, it was already visible to the naked eye. Strands of demonic qi drifted in the air like snakes slithering about, looking extremely strange. The group felt that it was somewhat strange. Yang Kai, who suggested going deeper, already felt some regret in his heart. Aside from finding the true master of the dragon grave, he also wanted to see if he could take advantage of the chaos to kill Xiao Chen. However, the situation now exceeded Yang Kai's control. The atmosphere was simply too strange. How could there be such dense demonic qi in the dragon grave? Furthermore, this demonic qi was extremely pure. If there were deep abyss demon race cultivators or demon mixed bloods here, they would definitely like this place. To them, this was a holy land for cultivation. However, Xiao Chen discovered that Dugu Ao's expression was somewhat unsightly. From the very start, he had been very sensitive to demonic qi. The demonic qi that any demon mixed blood would like was something Dugu Ao did not seem willing to touch. When Xiaochen thought about how this person had not been willing to use his blood demon innate talent, there had to be a story behind this. As for what the story was, Xiaochen would not overthink it, much less ask about it. Right now, what Xiaochen cared about the most was what was in the depths of this dragon grave. The path ahead was unexpectedly calm. Due to the age of the many restrictions and traps, the group easily broke them. The journey was very peaceful, without any disturbances at all. There were many forks in the road, but there was no need to worry about choosing one. They could take whichever path had the densest demonic qi. However, in the end, the group felt their hair stand on end. Even when they circulated their energies to block the dense demonic qi, they could not prevent it from seeping into their bodies. Dugu Ao was fine. However, when the demonic qi entered the bodies of others, it was like poison. They would have to spend some time to get rid of it. Go! Yang Kai braced himself and walked forward. It was hard for him to back out now. After passing through a passageway where the demonic energy had turned into mist, the group's eyes suddenly lit up, and their field of vision suddenly widened. Looking at the scene before them, everyone's jaws dropped in disbelief. In the vast open space in front of him, there was a huge black skeleton of a true dragon lying on the ground. A vast dragon might spread out from the dragon bones. Even from a distance, everyone could feel the pressure. There were 8 thick and heavy chains on the back of the dragon skeleton, firmly locking the black dragon skeleton down from each side. The heavy chains, the giant remains of the black true dragon, and the dragon might that hadn't dissipated even after 1,000,000 years. The shock brought about by this scene was somewhat indescribable. Only those who were at the scene could feel it for themselves. There were also 8 flaming stone pillars surrounding the black dragon skeleton. Each pillar had a purple dragon skeleton tied to it. Compared to the giant black dragon skeleton, the 8 dragon skeletons tied to the flaming stone pillars were much smaller. Even so, these 8 purple dragon skeletons were much larger than the true dragon skeleton that Xiaochen obtained from the burial ground earlier. Furthermore, the dragon might from the purple dragon skeletons had not dissipated. It was clear which was stronger. Be it the purple dragon skeletons on the flaming stone pillars or the giant black skeleton bound by chains, they all gave off an extraordinary aura. What kind of flame is this? It has been burning for 1,000,000 years without extinguishing. Even with Yang Kai's experience as a half-step Emperor Wu, he felt that his knowledge was too shallow. He did not know what kind of flame this was. Xiaochen frowned slightly and muttered, "This is a heavenly flame." This was indeed a heavenly flame. It had the same nature as the heavenly flame in Chu Chaoyun's eyes. However, the heavenly flame that Chu Chaoyun grasped did not have an origin flame, it was just a facade. However, the flame on these stone pillars was released by someone who possessed the heavenly flame's origin flame. Its might was on a completely different level. Thinking about the heavenly flame's origin flame sealed in the divine blood formation in the Blue Dragon Palace, Xiaochen suspected that the Qing Emperor had set the flames on these stone pillars. After thinking about it, this was quite possible. The Blue Dragon Palace happened to have the heavenly flame's origin flame, and the Qing Emperor happened to have been here. What's going on? Why did the master of the dragon grave lock himself here? Also, why does it feel like the dragon skeletons on these stone pillars are sealed like people? Without a doubt, that giant black dragon skeleton was the master of this dragon grave. However, why did it lock himself here? Look! Doesn't the ornament at the top of the stone pillar look like a sword hilt? The sharp-eyed old man in the straw-caped raincoat suddenly said. There was a palm-sized stone pillar in the middle of every stone pillar that could be grasped with one hand. If one did not associate it with a sword hilt, it would be hard to notice. However, once one did, the more one looked at it, the more similar it seemed. A distant ancient divine weapon. The eyes of Yang Kai, who used a sword, immediately lit up. Although Wu Ku and the straw-caped old man did not use swords, they understood the value of a distant ancient divine weapon. A distant ancient divine weapon already rivaled an emperor-grade secret treasure. They were weapons that were hard to find in the world. Possessing a distant ancient divine weapon could raise Emperor Wu's strength by at least 20%. A distant ancient divine weapon would only be stronger than a divine weapon forged in the current era. Dugu Ao frowned and said, "It's best not to mess around. I feel that the stone pillars are the seals. These 8 dragon skeletons, as well as the huge dragon skeletons in the middle, are no longer of the dragon race. The demonic chi in their bodies is even purer than that of high-ranked demons." Given Dugu Ao's status as a mixed-blood human and demon, his words were very reliable. Xiaochen also felt that the distant ancient divine weapons on the stone pillars could not be touched. He advised, "Let's go back. This place is too strange." The Qing Emperor probably added the heavenly flame. It is possible that the original seal could no longer suppress these things, so he added the heavenly flame. The 3 could not decide what to do. Given their experience, they knew that what Xiaochen and Dugu Ao said was true. However, the allure of a distant ancient divine weapon was too great. If they missed this opportunity, they would miss it forever. Yang Kai, who coveted this divine weapon the most, said, "Perhaps you are overthinking. These are just ordinary true dragon remains, just like the other dragon graves. They are just skeletons that have been dead for millions of years." Xiaochen smiled coldly and said, "You really know how to comfort yourself." Yang Kai immediately felt extremely uncomfortable after being rebuked by Xiaochen. His eyes filled with hostility as he said sullenly, "This old man does not need you to lecture me. Even if there is a great disaster, it is not my turn to worry about it." These words were extremely irresponsible. However, they were not wrong. Even if the sky collapsed, there would be someone taller to hold it up. As long as Yang Kai took the distant ancient divine weapons here and quickly escaped, even if the seal broke in the future, the ones to worry would be those primes and sovereign martial emperors. If something major happened, the ones to worry would be those primes and sovereign martial emperors. It had nothing to do with him, a half-step martial emperor. Whoosh! Yang Kai's figure flashed, and he landed on top of a stone pillar. There was no heavenly flame at the top, but there were some sparks floating around. Yang Kai carefully squatted down and stretched out his hand to grasp the sword hilt. Seeing Yang Kai's actions, Xiaochen's and Dugu Ao's expressions changed, and they quickly took 10 steps back. A fervent look flashed in the eyes of the bald Wu Kuo and the straw-caped old man, but they did not take even half a step back. The 2 of them probably had designs on these distant ancient divine weapons. If the distant ancient divine weapons were pulled out, nothing would happen. The 2 of them would use the shortest time possible to pull out all the other distant ancient divine weapons, not leaving a single one behind. Before everyone's eyes, Yang Kai took a deep breath, and determination flashed in his eyes. Then, he started to slowly pull out the sword. As Yang Kai slowly pulled out the sword, bits and pieces fell off, giving off a bright light. A strong and simple might spread out. This was indeed a distant ancient divine weapon. As a swordsman, Yang Kai could not help revealing an expression of joy at this moment. He suppressed his excitement and continued to carefully pull out the sword. A fervent look appeared in the eyes of the bald Wu Kuo and the straw-caped old man. They looked around, wanting to see if there were any strange movements from the purple dragon bones tied to the stone pillars. There were no movements at all. Those dragon bones were like the bones of ordinary true dragons. They did not give off any fluctuations of life or any strange sounds. The wind was calm, everything was quiet. The 2 of them heaved a sigh of relief. A crafty look flashed in their eyes as they stepped forward. Before Yang Kai could pull out the sword, they each flew to a stone pillar. Chi! Compared to Yang Kai's caution, the 2 of them did not care. They pulled hard and pulled out all the swords. The 2 of them were only slightly slower than Yang Kai. They pulled out the distant ancient divine weapons from the stone pillars at nearly the same time. Their faces brimmed with joy. When the 2 of them felt the surging energy contained in the swords, they were overjoyed. Xiaochen's expression remained calm, there were no fluctuations in his heart. He kept feeling that something was about to happen. Now that it was so calm, it was definitely not normal. The distant ancient divine weapons were important items for the seal. After losing them, there would be a major change to the seal. However, Xiaochen felt some doubt in his heart. These dragon bones had been dead for who knows how many years. Could they still be a threat? No matter what, it was better to be careful. Thinking of this, Xiaochen moved his feet and retreated further. Ha ha ha. Distant ancient divine weapon. It really is a distant ancient divine weapon. With this distant ancient divine weapon, why would I need to fear the great tribulation of wind and fire? After clearing the great tribulation of wind and fire and advancing to martial emperor, the straw-caped old man's wish of hundreds of years was about to be fulfilled. He entered a berserk state, laughing maniacally. Yang Kai glanced at Xiaochen and Dugu Ao, who had retreated far away. He smiled and said, "There are still 5 distant ancient divine weapons. Are the 2 of you sure you don't want them? If you really don't want them, don't blame us for not leaving them for you." Tempted expressions flashed in Xiaochen's and Dugu Ao's eyes. Who could resist the temptation of a distant ancient divine weapon? Chapter 1197. A large part of the reason they did not leave was the existence of the distant ancient divine weapons. Seeing that the 3 were safe and sound after obtaining the distant ancient divine weapons, Xiaochen could not help wanting to make a move. However, after struggling for a while, his rationality finally won over his desire. The time was not right. This place was too strange. The Qing Emperor would not place a heavenly flame on this stone pillar for no reason. Furthermore, he would not be so bored as to leave a powerful killing move on the wall. Cowardly and afraid of everything, yet you still want to take the Emperor's road? What a joke. The straw-caped old man smiled coldly when he saw that the 2 did not move. Ka Xie. However, just at this moment, the chains binding the dragon bones on the 3 stone pillars where the divine weapons were drawn suddenly broke. Amid a crisp sound, the upright dragon bones fell to the ground with a whoosh. The dragon bones that fell to the ground slowly melted into a purple liquid that slowly flowed out of the heavenly flames range. When the black liquid completely flowed out of the heavenly flames range, it wriggled and took human form. Then, it materialized 3 purple robes with the symbol of a demonic god embroidered on them. A bright light flashed in Xiaochen's eyes. These robes were clearly the Dark Church's uniform. He had seen them on Tingxiao and the Dark Church's branch in the Sky Dome realm before. There was no mistaking it. Run! Without even thinking, Xiaochen turned around and left. Dugu Ao's movements were not much slower than Xiaochen's. He quickly followed behind, running back the way he came. Who are you? Yang Kai's 3 people on the stone pillars exclaimed in horror when they saw this sudden scene. They did not expect this. The 3 purple-clad men turned around expressionlessly and looked at the 3 people on the stone pillars. Then, they sent out a formless mental energy, and the 3 immediately felt confused. The purple-clad men stretched out their hands at the same time, and the distant ancient divine weapons that Yang Kai's 3 held immediately struggled free. Then, they spun in the air and chopped off the 3's heads at the same time. This scene happened very quickly, in less than half a breath of time. There was no time for the 3 half-step Emperor Wu experts to prepare. Yang Kai's 3, who had been overjoyed at obtaining the distant ancient divine weapons, died to the divine weapons in their hands in the blink of an eye. Fortunately, they were able to witness the might of the ancient era's divine armament before they died. This proved that their foresight was not bad. It's a pity that it's not yours. It's not yours. Even if you hold it in your hands, it's not yours. 2 escaped. One is a human-demon hybrid, and the other is a human blue-robed emperor. It's very weak, but we can kill it. Chase. The 3 of them spoke in an extremely simple manner. Their minds were calm, and they were extremely calm about breaking free from the seal. Come to think of it, he'd been sealed for over 1,000,000 years, so his mental state had probably become a dead sea, and it was very difficult for it to fluctuate due to external factors. So. Figures flashed. 3 expressionless purple-clad men wielding divine weapons quickly gave chase in the direction that Xiao Chen and Dugu Ao had fled. Their speed was unimaginably fast. It wouldn't be an exaggeration to say that they were teleporting. Although they could not tear space, they seemed to have some mysteries of the state of space in them. Compared to ordinary movement techniques, they were much more exquisite. After 15 minutes, the 3 saw Xiao Chen and Dugu Ao's figures. Without saying anything, they each sent out a sword strike. 3 terrifying sword chi sliced through the space like tofu, tearing open a neat black crack that continued to extend forward. Xiao Chen checked his surroundings. He knew that he could not block them with his martial techniques. So, he did a series of extreme movements with his feet in the air, brushing past the cracks created by the 3 sword chi. A black crack flew by Xiao Chen's face, silently chopping off his fine black hair. This startled Xiao Chen into breaking out in a cold sweat. For the sake of dodging the sword chi, Xiao Chen and Dugu Ao's speed decreased significantly. The distance between them slowly shortened. The purple-clad men were like the Grim Reaper. As long as the 2 got close, only death awaited them. Sword chi flew everywhere, creating spatial cracks and turning the cavern into a mess. The rocks above their heads kept falling, creating quite a bit of obstruction for the 2 of them to escape. With their lives hanging by a thread, Xiao Chen was extremely focused. His mind was clear, he did not give up at all. As long as they reached the stone wall where the Qing Emperor left those words, they would have a chance of survival. Compared to Xiao Chen, Dugu Ao was in an even worse state. His body was already riddled with wounds from the sword chi. The Dragon's Gate's Qing Emperor was here. Xiao Chen's eyes lit up. He finally saw those 8 ancient and modern words. However, when he looked back, 18 crisscrossing sword chi appeared behind him, not giving him a chance to dodge at all. As for the 3 purple-clad men, they followed unhurriedly, 1 step at a time. They looked at the 2 like they were already dead. At the critical moment, Xiao Chen unfurled the freedom wings and increased his speed by another 20%. He pushed off the ground and landed at the foot of the stone wall before the sword chi arrived. Just as Xiao Chen was about to wipe away the 8 words and unleash the Qing Emperor's powerful killing move, he glanced around and happened to see Dugu Ao, who was about to be swallowed up by the sword chi. At this moment, if Xiao Chen materialized the blue dragon battle armor and endured the damage of the 18 sword chi, he would have an 80% chance of saving Dugu Ao. However, once he failed, Xiao Chen would die a miserable death. Even if he managed to save Dugu Ao, he would definitely end up severely injured. To save or not to save? To save or not to save? This was truly a difficult problem. There was not much time left for Xiao Chen. If he delayed, he would lose the right to choose. Save. Decisiveness flashed in Xiao Chen's eyes. Since there was an 80% chance of saving, why should he leave Dugu Ao to die? Although Xiao Chen was not a goody two-shoes, he could only watch as someone died before him. He clearly had a chance to save Dugu Ao, but he did not do so. In the future, when Xiao Chen recalled this, he would definitely feel guilty. He was not a cold-blooded person by nature, so there was no need for him to lie to himself. Putting away the freedom wings, Xiao Chen materialized the blue dragon battle armor. The instant the battle armor covered his entire body, he flew over to Dugu Ao's back. When Dugu Ao, who had been waiting for death, saw Xiao Chen arrive, intense shock flashed in his eyes. Unexpectedly, Xiao Chen still came to save him at this moment. Just as the 18 sword chi were about to swallow up Dugu Ao, Xiao Chen picked him up and tossed him forward, blocking the 18 sword chi tearing space by himself. When the sword chi struck Xiao Chen's back, this sword chi, which could tear space apart, paused for the first time when it encountered Xiao Chen's 3rd layer of the blue dragon battle armor. Xiao Chen vomited a mouthful of blood as the 18 sword chi knocked him back. 18 horrifying wounds appeared on the battle armor on Dugu Ao's back. Blood flowed out, and the wounds penetrated deep into his bones. Using the rebound of these 18 sword chi, Xiao Chen accelerated and landed beside Dugu Ao, his complexion pale. When the three purple-clad men saw this scene, their expressions changed at the same time. Clearly, they were greatly shocked at Xiao Chen's successful escape. To think that the strong sword qi that Xiao Chen brought out with the distant divine weapon did not chop this person into pieces. A peak sage body and the blue dragon battle armor. No wonder his defense is so strong. However, these two are severely injured. Even if they manage to escape this calamity, they will still die. The purple-clad man in the middle was stunned for a moment before recovering. The extremely weak Dugu Ao smiled bitterly and said, "Unfortunately, there is no way for me to repay the favor I owe you. You should not have turned around to save me and ended up sacrificing yourself." Xiao Chen smiled faintly and said, "Just live on properly. You still have to repay the favor you owe me. If I was not confident, I would not have made a move." Seeing the three purple-clad men appear in his vision, Xiao Chen quickly made his move, erasing the words that the Qing Emperor left on the stone wall. Boom! The instant all the words were erased, a figure suddenly appeared from the wall. That person was dressed in azure, looking like a celestial being as he walked out of the void. He was like a sovereign among men, exuding a tyrannical aura. Just his figure alone was enough to make people prostrate themselves in worship. Before the three purple-clad men could clearly see this figure, a bright saber light blinded them. Following that was a horrifying killing move. Under this saber light, the space in front shattered into countless pieces like a mirror. This was the true meaning of slicing through space. Everything within that space would be destroyed. The instant the three purple-clad men's corpses shattered, Xiao Chen vaguely saw three tiny figures that looked like Yuanying trying to flee. In the end, space completely shattered. The instant the Yuanying appeared, the saber qi scattered it, thoroughly killing it. Dugu Ao and Xiao Chen fell to the ground. As they looked at the shattered space in front, they felt a lingering fear and shock. Compared to that earlier saber strike, the sword qi that the purple-clad men sent out earlier was nothing. Destroying space with one saber strike was true strength, not relying on the sharpness of a distant ancient divine weapon to barely tear open space. If it were this saber strike, even if Xiao Chen were 10 times more courageous, he would not dare to take it head-on. "You knew long ago?" Dugu Ao, who had just survived a calamity, asked as he looked at Xiao Chen. Xiao Chen nodded. "The moment I touched the words, I knew." As Dugu Ao spoke, Xiao Chen swallowed a medicinal pill for treating injuries. Then, he circulated his energy and headed for the slowly merging space in front. "What are you doing?" Checking to see if they are all dead or not, Xiao Chen answered without even turning his head. Dugu Ao gaped in shock. Xiao Chen was too cautious. Even after all that, they were still alive. As Xiao Chen walked over, he looked around. Aside from the three distant ancient divine weapons, there were no longer any remnants of the purple-clad men's bodies. Xiao Chen did not feel at ease. He closed his eyes and sent out his spiritual sense, carefully scanning the place. After verifying that there were no traces of mental energy, he finally relaxed. Xiao Chen could not help but be cautious. At the crucial moment, he saw the tiny figures coming out of the three men's bodies, startling him. They were simply too similar to an immortal cultivator's Yuanying. When Xiao Chen thought about it, these things could be revived by a pile of dragon bones even after 1,000,000 years. There was no harm in being cautious. "How is it? Are they all dead?" Dugu Ao asked as he walked over. "They should be all dead." "In that case, what do you intend to do with these distant ancient divine weapons?" "Plug them back in. Put them back in the way they were originally placed." Chapter 1198. After speaking, Xiao Chen ignored Dugu Ao's shock and headed deeper into the dragon grave step by step. 2 hours later, he arrived at the place where the gigantic black dragon bones were locked. When Xiao Chen saw the three headless corpses on the ground and the distant ancient divine weapons in his hands, he sighed. Desire was always a cultivator's greatest enemy. If not for Xiao Chen overcoming desire in the ancient desolate tower, one of the headless corpses on the ground would be Xiao Chen. As Xiao Chen looked at Dugu Ao, who followed him over, he asked, "Speaking of which, how did you resist the temptation of the distant ancient divine weapons?" No matter how Xiao Chen looked at it, Dugu Ao did not seem like someone who could resist the temptation of the distant ancient divine weapons. Dugu Ao smiled embarrassedly and said, "I could not get close to these stone pillars. These stone pillars have an extremely strong suppressive and sealing effect on cultivators who cultivate demonic qi. Although I do not cultivate demonic qi, I have half a blood demon bloodline in me. I could not avoid it." Xiao Chen now understood. At the same time, he firmed his resolve to return the distant ancient divine weapons. The seal of this place definitely sealed incredible existences, which involved many secrets. The Dark Church, the Deep Abyss demonic race, these secrets could only be understood after Xiao Chen became truly strong. After returning the 3 distant ancient divine weapons, Xiao Chen thought for a while. Then, he put some force into the sword hilt. This way, no one would be able to see the sword hilt from the outside. Even if someone accidentally discovered this place, without sufficient benefits, they would not touch it. Xiao Chen leaped to the other stone pillars with dragon bones tied to them. Then, he put some force into the sword hilt as well. Ah! Immediately, a miserable cry came from the stone pillar. Xiao Chen smiled faintly. It looked like his idea worked. Xiao Chen leaped over and pushed the sword hilt out of the other stone pillars into the ground. Then, he jumped down and destroyed the entire cave with one palm strike. Rocks peeled off, completely burying this sealed land. After that, Xiao Chen and Dugu Ao left this place. With every step, Xiao Chen threw a palm strike, destroying the entire burial ground. When he exited the entrance of the dragon tomb, he sent out a few more palm strikes, completely blocking the entrance. As the two looked at the calm surface of the vast dragon grave sea, they both felt fatigued. The adventure of the 8-star dragon grave finally came to an end. When Xiao Chen first entered, the group was very majestic. Now, only Xiao Chen and Dugu Ao came out alive. Even someone as strong as Wu Ku and Yang Kai, and someone as astute as the old man in the woven rush-caped raincoat, had fallen here in the end. During this adventure, not to mention the treasures, the viciousness of the human heart, the choices made in the face of desire, and the lowliness of one's own strength had given Xiao Chen a vivid lesson. This made Xiao Chen even more anxious to rush to the human demon sea and obtain the treasures that the Thunder King left behind. He wanted to advance to the consummation blue-robed emperor as soon as possible. Dugu Ao withdrew his gaze and performed a cupped fist salute to Xiao Chen. Before he left, he said, "Although I am arrogant, I will definitely repay the favor I owe you. There are many ingrates in the world, but I, Dugu Ao, will definitely not be one of them. We will meet again in the future." Xiao Chen, who watched Dugu Ao leave, did not know that Dugu Ao would really repay this favor a few years later. Furthermore, he did so in an extremely tragic manner. However, this was something that would happen many years later. The current Xiao Chen would definitely not think of it. As for the favor Dugu Ao mentioned, Xiao Chen merely smiled and brushed it off. Given his strength, he simply could not think of anything he would need Dugu Ao's help in the future. Xiao Chen had saved Dugu Ao twice only because of his principles. If it were someone else, he would have done the same. If he really died after saving Dugu Ao, Xiao Chen would have chosen to stand aside and not blindly act rashly. When Xiao Chen looked back at the calm surface of the sea, he thought of the people who went to the dragon grave sea with him and shook his head slightly. After sighing, he summoned out the flood dragon war chariot and headed for the human demon sea. Inside the war chariot, Xiao Chen sat cross-legged and started to seriously treat his injuries. If not for the final 18 strands of sword qi, it would not have been difficult for Xiao Chen to safely retreat from the 8-star dragon grave. However, it did not matter now. As long as Xiao Chen had enough time, given his physical body, no matter how severe his injuries were, he could recover in a short time. After half a day, Xiao Chen opened his eyes. The wounds on his back had already mostly healed. The defense of the third layer of the blue dragon battle armor far surpassed Xiao Chen's expectations. Furthermore, this was only at small perfection. Xiaochen estimated that after he condensed the blue dragon battle armor, his defense should rival that of Mo Rant's body of steel. Furthermore, it did not have any weak points. All in all, Xiaochen was much stronger. Among the Deep Abyss demon races, the Iron Demons were known as the race with the strongest defense. Due to the natural advantage of their body structure and some cultivation techniques, their defense far surpassed that of the other races. Furthermore, Xiaochen's human body could rival that of the Iron Demon race's body of steel. If he appeared in the astral battlefield one day, he would definitely cause a huge commotion. Inside the war chariot, Xiaochen went through his gains in the dragon grave again. There were 15,000 essence stones, 100 dragon blood flowers, 3 P-quality king-grade secret treasures, and 1 true dragon remains. With such a large harvest, this trip to the 8-star dragon grave was worth it. However, the doubts of the 8-star dragon grave were hard to resolve. What kind of existence was the mysterious Dark Church? To think that such an organization actually existed a million years ago. This was truly shocking. The Sky Dome realm was no stranger to most of the Deep Abyss demon races. There were detailed records of the high-ranked demon races and the 18 demon monarchs, which could be easily looked up. Only the Nether sect revealed very little information about them. Never mind, I won't be able to figure anything out no matter how hard I try. Right now, I am not strong enough. This is not the time to think about this. Right now, the most important thing is to rush to the Human Demon Sea and obtain the treasures that the Thunder King left behind. Thinking of this, Xiaochen thought back to the information Ao Jiao gave him about the Human Demon Sea. In this oceanic world, any sea region with a large number of cultivators would have rich resources and prosperous islands. In that case, the Human Demon Sea would be an oddity. The spiritual energy here was thin, and resources were scarce. However, there were as many cultivators as there were hairs on an ox, no less than the number of cultivators in the heavenly starry ocean. The reason was none other than the demon mixed bloods living here. There were demon mixed bloods with purer bloodlines and more perfect evolutions. They looked no different from humans. There were also demon mixed bloods with insufficient purity and imperfect evolutions. These demon mixed bloods had long hair, scales, or horns. Most of these demon mixed bloods cultivated demonic chi and had a violent personality. Although there were all sorts of factions and clans, they were not bound by the morals of humans. They did as they pleased and were much more cold-blooded and cruel. According to Ao Jiao, the treasures left behind by the Thunder King, Sangmu, were on Scorching Flame Island in the north of the Human Demon Sea. He had given them to Sangmu's good friend, Su-He, to guard. When the Thunder King was alive, he had saved this demon mixed bloods martial emperor's life. Naturally, this demon mixed bloods martial emperor agreed to the Thunder King's request before he died. This demon mixed bloods martial emperor helped guard the treasures left behind by the Thunder King and waited for Ao Jiao to bring the new inheritor over. Back then, this demon mixed bloods martial emperor was already a martial emperor. Now that 1,000 years had passed, this demon mixed bloods martial emperor should be as strong as a sovereign martial emperor. Xiaochen was not very clear on the exact classification of Emperor Wu's strength. He was just making a random guess. He should not be too far off. Ao Jiao, how much do you know about this demon mixed bloods martial emperor? It is hard to believe that a martial emperor could endure loneliness for 1,000 years. The Human Demon Sea was already before them. However, Xiaochen felt somewhat nervous. 1,000 years was too long. He feared that he would not meet this demon mixed bloods martial emperor. That would be problematic. Without this martial emperor's key, he would not be able to enter the Thunder King's treasures. However, Ao Jiao was very confident. She smiled and said, "Don't worry. I've met this demon mixed bloods martial emperor before. Furthermore, you have to believe in the Thunder King's judgment. There will not be any problems." With Ao Jiao's assurance, Xiaochen felt more at ease. Half a day later, they formally entered the Human Demon Sea. Xiao Chen put away the flood dragon war chariot and landed on the surface of the sea in a low-profile manner. What dense demonic qi! Xiao Chen frowned slightly. The instant he stepped onto the surface of the sea, he felt a large amount of demonic qi in the air. However, the spiritual energy here was pitifully thin. The human demon sea truly lived up to its name. Suddenly, Xiao Chen thought about how Dugu Ao chose to cultivate spiritual energy under such circumstances and even managed to cultivate to his current cultivation. He was truly a genius. After landing on a random island and resting for a night, Xiao Chen headed for Scorching Flame Island in the northern demonic sea. In the northern demonic sea, Scorching Flame Island was an average-sized island. It was about the same size as Xiao Chen's conferred land, Heavenly Star Island. Martial Emperor Su He was the only Emperor Wu on this island. The Su clan was also the strongest faction on this Scorching Flame Island. They controlled the largest city on the island, Scorching Flame City. This was news from 1,000 years ago. After 1,000 years, there should not have been much change. After all, with a martial emperor holding down the fort, it should be more than enough to dominate a medium-sized island. After arriving at Scorching Flame Island, Xiao Chen headed straight for Scorching Flame City, moving as fast as lightning. Who is it? How dare you barge into Scorching Flame City? Just as Xiao Chen approached Scorching Flame City, two old men with hostile expressions came out of the city and blocked Xiao Chen's path in midair. These two old men were Great Perfection blue-robed Emperor cultivators. The faction in the city must have sensed Xiao Chen's strength. However, they did not know his background, so they sent two Great Perfection blue-robed Emperor experts to investigate. This was normal. Any major faction would react like this when an unfamiliar expert suddenly appeared in their territory with lightning speed. If this was not the case, then this faction would not even have the most basic precautions, and it would not be far from destruction. Xiao Chen did not find this strange. He smiled and said, "The two of you, please don't misunderstand. I do not have any malicious intent. I just want to ask, are the two of you surnamed Su?" "So, it is a friend of the Su clan. I was wondering why you were so arrogant. You came to Scorching Flame City without even saying a word before running amok." Xiao Chen found this strange. Why does this tone sound off? Did something happen here? Is the Su clan no longer the overlord of Scorching Flame Island? You are not welcome here. Scram. The cultivators of the human demon sea were all hot-tempered. If they did not agree with each other, they would explode. The two old men immediately attacked, each sending out a killing move filled with overwhelming demonic qi at Xiao Chen. You overestimate yourself. Chapter 1199. Xiao Chen's face sank as he snorted coldly. Then, he raised the 1,000-year flame in his left hand and the 1,000-year death in his right. Two bright moons, one scarlet like blood and one bright like fire, soared into the air behind Xiao Chen, forming a miraculous scene of two moons competing with each other. This palm strike clashed with the two old men's attacks, causing the two old men to vomit blood and retreat. They fled with panicked expressions on their faces. Xiao Chen did not give chase. He frowned slightly and said, "What's going on in this city? When I mentioned the Su clan's name, they immediately attacked me. Could something have happened in the past 1,000 years? Is he dead?" After sneaking into the city, Xiao Chen asked around and obtained a completely unexpected answer. The human demon martial emperor Su He died 500 years ago, dying on the path to sovereign martial emperor. Such an answer truly caught Xiao Chen by surprise. This was even harder to deal with than leaving Scorching Flame Island expected. The Su clan, the overlord of Scorching Flame Island back then, quickly declined after Su He died. Right now, the Su clan was on the brink of collapse on Scorching Flame Island. The factions that the Su clan had once suppressed had risen and were suppressing the Su clan again and again. The Su clan had been chased out of Scorching Flame City long ago. Now, they occupied a city on the northwestern edge of Scorching Flame Island. Although the Su clan was still one of the two major factions of Scorching Flame Island, it was in a gloomy state. Everyone knew that the Su clan would not last for long before the Wang clan chased them out of Scorching Flame Island. There was no such thing as a man living a good life for 1,000 days and a flower blooming for 100 days. Right now, the largest faction on Scorching Flame Island was the Wang clan. The two old men who blocked Xiao Chen from entering the city were the Wang clan's inner clan elders. The Wang clan's clan head possessed the strength of a half-step Emperor Wu. Aside from that, there were two consummation blue-robed Emperor experts. In this Scorching Flame Island without Emperor Wu, the Wang clan's reputation as the strongest was well-deserved. Thank you. After giving the waiter who told him the news some compensation, Xiao Chen picked up his teacup and entered deep thought. This was really a little troublesome. The guardian of the Thunder King's inheritance had passed away. It was unknown whether the key had been given to his descendants or buried with the key. Ao Jiao, what do we do now? Xiao Chen asked, putting down the teacup. Ao Jiao, who was in the immortal spirit ring, thought for a while before saying, let's go to the Su clan and take a look first. Without the key, I cannot open the Thunder King's inheritance. I hope everything goes well. After getting up and settling the bill, Xiao Chen suddenly sensed a powerful aura flying rapidly in his direction. The two elders who were injured by him earlier were also following behind this powerful aura. One perfected blue-robed emperor and two advanced blue-robed emperors. Xiao Chen smiled and said, you really think highly of me. Now that Xiao Chen faced a consummation blue-robed emperor, he did not fear him at all. Even someone as strong as the straw-caped old man would be confident of defeating him. However, there was no need to cause too much commotion at this moment. After circulating the foundation returning art to cover up his aura, Xiao Chen silently left this place. Not long after Xiao Chen left, 3 cultivators appeared at the entrance of this tea house. The person in the middle had purple hair and red eyes. He did not look old. The moment he appeared, the bustling tea house immediately fell silent. This startled the manager of the tea house. What could have startled the Wang clan's supreme elder, Wang Feng? Furthermore, there were 2 advanced perfection blue-robed emperors with him. Now, the Wang clan was like the local tyrant of this vast Scorching Flame Island. No one dared to defy them. Normally, the Wang clan's people were arrogant and despotic, no one dared to offend them. The manager quickly ran over and smiled apologetically, Senior Wang, what brings you here? The purple-haired, middle-aged man did not say anything. Instead, the old man that Xiao Chen injured at the side asked bluntly, have you seen a white-robed youth? He is not a local. His characteristics are very obvious, so you should be able to recognize him easily. Yes, he just left not long ago. Seeing this person's ferocious expression, how could the manager dare not speak the truth? The expression of the purple-haired, middle-aged man, Wang Feng, changed slightly. He asked sullenly, are you sure he just left? He really just left not long ago. This little one does not dare to hide anything. Wang Feng muttered, strange, he just left not long ago. Why does it feel like he vanished completely from my perception? There is no such peak great perfection blue-robed emperor here. Could it be that this fellow learned some secret technique to hide his aura and managed to hide? Wang Feng nodded and entered deep thought. After a while, he said, that should be it. This person's strength is not simple. Don't offend him for no reason. However, he seems to have some connection to the Su clan. Furthermore, he injured us without saying a word, one of the old men said carefully. Wang Feng smiled coldly and said, I'll make some time to make a trip there personally. If he really has some connection to the Su clan, I will make sure that he cannot leave Scorching Flame Island. If not, just treat it as a small loss. In the future, just be more careful. The two of you, don't think that you are unrivaled in the sea region around Scorching Flame Island just because you can cover the sky with one hand. After saying that, the purple-haired, red-eyed Wang Feng could not be bothered with these two, so his figure flashed and he left. This caused the 2 old men that Xiao Chen injured to exchange glances, feeling upset. However, old Wang personally made a move. If this brat really has some connection to the Su clan, he will definitely die a miserable death. That is natural. Old Wang is a peak great perfection blue-robed emperor. If the half-step Emperor Wu does not appear, who can match him? Scorching Flame Island was about the same size as Xiao Chen's conferred land, Heavenly Star Island. It was as large as a province in the Tianwu domain. Even if an ordinary person rode on horseback for 3 months, they would not be able to cross it. As for the blue-robed emperor, especially a demonic genius like Xiao Chen, there was no need for him to go through so much trouble. When night fell, Xiao Chen used only 7 or 8 minutes to easily reach a city at the northwestern edge of Scorching Flame Island. It was a city that was built on a desolate mountain, and it was the current location of the Su clan. Compared to the bustling Scorch City, it seemed to be desolate and cold. It was no wonder that it seemed to be lethargic in the words of others. It looked like this Su clan was indeed forced into a miserable state. Soon, they would be forced out of Scorching Flame Island. With his previous experience, Xiao Chen continuously circulated his foundation returning art this time. He traveled silently, not startling anyone as he arrived at the city lord's residence. At this moment, the large hall of the city lord's residence was brightly lit. The Su clan's clan head and the Su clan elders were all gathered together, seemingly discussing something. Without startling anyone, Xiao Chen quietly landed on the roof. When he saw the brightly lit hall and the grave expressions of the Su clan elders, he could not help but listen out of curiosity. Big bro, the Wang family is being too aggressive right now. Several of our resource islands have been occupied by the Wang family. We can't go on like this. The Wang clan's people are too tyrannical. They are simply pushing us to our deaths. Not only did they chase us out of Scorching Flame City, they even want to occupy our resource islands. They are trying to break our roots. Big brother, make a decision. The ancestral teachings can be changed. Right now, the Wang clan is at a critical juncture. I believe that old ancestor Su He will forgive us. Everyone in the room stared at the Su clan's clan head, who sat in the middle, with a fiery gaze, hoping that he would make a decision. Xiao Chen checked with his spiritual sense and discovered that this person held a simple and unadorned purple key in his hand. He had a conflicted expression, clearly in great pain. Seeing this scene, Xiao Chen immediately understood what was going on. After Su He died, he did indeed hand the key to his descendants. At the same time, he left a will to wait for the Thunder King's inheritor to appear. However, now that the Su clan was at a critical juncture, these elders wanted to use the treasures left behind by the Thunder King. They wanted to rely on the treasures left behind by the Thunder King to survive this calamity and regain their position as the overlord of Scorching Flame Island. How shameless! How can you steal the things left behind by our benefactor? Ao Jiao cursed from the immortal spirit ring, her face flushed red with anger. Xiao Chen said calmly, "Don't get agitated. Let's see what decision that Su clan's clan head will make." Xiao Chen was not a bloodthirsty person. However, if the Su clan's clan head made the wrong decision, he would not mind starting a massacre. Inside the hall, when the Su clan's clan head saw his fervent brothers, a complicated expression appeared in his eyes. He knew that these people missed the Su clan's position as the overlord of Scorching Flame Island. They could not endure their current sullenness. He could understand how these brothers felt. However, this was something passed down by their ancestors. Before the old ancestor died, he had warned them repeatedly. As the clan head, he did not dare to make a rash decision. Don't mention this matter. The things in there are not the old ancestors but the old ancestors' benefactors. If I really take them, how am I going to face the old ancestor after I die? After thinking for a while, the Su clan's clan head made a decision that disappointed all his brothers. Congratulations. You've made the right choice. Whoosh! Xiao Chen nimbly somersaulted and suddenly appeared in the Su clan's hall. Who is it? Xiao Chen's silent appearance frightened the group of people in the hall. The peak experts of the Su clan were all gathered here, but they did not sense his presence at all. When the Su clan's clan head sized up Xiao Chen, they discovered that he was only a peak great perfection blue-robed emperor. However, the pressure from his aura was even more horrifying than that of a half-step Emperor Wu. The Su clan's clan head calmly waved his hand and stopped the flustered elders. Then, he looked at Xiao Chen and asked, "Might I ask who you are and why you are eavesdropping on us?" Xiao Chen looked at the purple key on the table and said calmly, "I do not have any malicious intentions. The person you are waiting for is me." Sensing Xiao Chen's gaze, the Su clan's clan head grabbed the key in his hand and said with a grave expression, "I do not know what you are talking about. I am not waiting for anyone. I think you are mistaken." Not bad. Even at this moment, he can still remain cautious. Xiao Chen praised the clan head in his heart. If his words caused the clan head's expression to change drastically and reveal everything, then Xiao Chen had underestimated the clan head's composure. "Ha! Do you need me to explain? I am the inheritor of the Thunder King. The person Emperor Su he wants you to wait for is me. The key in your hand is mine." The moment Xiao Chen spoke, the expressions of the group of people in the hall who wanted to open the Thunder King's inheritance changed. They did not expect to meet the person in question. Furthermore, the other party heard that the descendants of the protectors wanted to take the inheritance for themselves. Their expressions turned complicated. Chapter 1200. Xiao Chen said indifferently, "Don't be nervous. I can understand your situation. If I were you, I would have the same thoughts. Furthermore, Lord Clan Head has made the right decision. What proof do you have?" At this point, the Su clan's clan head was already half convinced. This was because he had not said these words in the Great Hall. Since Xiao Chen could say it clearly, it was most likely correct. However, there had to be proof. Words alone were not enough. "With me around, do you still need proof?" Before Ao Jiao's anger had dissipated, she flew out of the immortal spirit ring with a dark expression. When the Su clan's clan head saw Ao Jiao's appearance, his expression finally changed. He took out a portrait from the universe ring and compared it. "That's right. The ancestors said that you are the best proof. All I need is to see you." The Su clan's clan head put away the portrait and waved his hand at the people beside him. "You all can withdraw first. I want to speak with this little brother alone." However, the eyes of these people flickered, unwilling to leave. "Withdraw." The Su clan's clan head shouted coldly, feeling somewhat embarrassed. Plop. Suddenly, an elder knelt down and said, "Little brother, since you are the inheritor of this expert, you must be an outstanding talent of this great age. If you obtain the Thunder King's inheritance, please help our Su clan. Please help our Su clan. We have had a hard time in the past few years. Those people from the Wang clan have forced us into a miserable state." Xiao Chen stretched out his hand and sent out a palm strike, forcibly pulling the kneeling person up. "Your Su clan has guarded the Thunder King's inheritance for more than 1,000 years. Since I am here, I will naturally help if I can." Xiao Chen had a ruler in his heart. Before he came, he had already thought it through. He would help the Su clan if he could. The Wang clan only had one half-step Emperor Wu. To Xiao Chen, it was not impossible to defeat them. However, it was not worth it to expose all of his trump cards to kill this person. The best result would be for the other party to back off. This would give the Su clan a foothold and stop killing them and plundering their resource islands. This would be considered repaying this favor. After all, it was the Thunder King who had helped the Su clan's ancestor. He did not owe the other party anything. "Many thanks, young master." After the few people obtained Xiao Chen's promise, they revealed expressions of joy and left one after another. Clan's head, what's wrong? Do you think I'm bragged?" The Su clan's clan head recovered his wits and said, "I do not dare. Although I am not strong enough, I still have some judgment. Given young master's strength, a regular consummation quasi-emperor should not be a match for him. But the Wang clan is, after all, a clan with half-step Emperor Wu guarding it. Even if young master obtains the treasures left behind by the Thunder King, his strength will not increase by leaps and bounds within a short period of time. My brothers are still too naive. Xiao Chen's eyes lit up. This Su clan's patriarch did have good judgment and brains. No wonder he could still maintain the Su clan for 500 years after the death of Emperor Su He. However, now, even if Xiao Chen did not enter the Thunder King's inheritance, he would not fear the blue-robed emperor. He could fight him to a draw. If he used that golden holy feather, killing this half-step Emperor Wu would be a piece of cake. On the side, Ao Jiao replied on behalf of Xiao Chen, Lord Patriarch is indeed perceptive, but you don't have to think too much about this matter, Xiao Chen has his own ways to solve it. Give me the key. I'll bring him in tomorrow. The Su clan's patriarch smiled but did not say anything in the end. Then, he handed the key to Ao Jiao. Xiao Chen's anxious heart finally relaxed. Although there were some unexpected twists and turns, he still managed to resolve the matter of the Thunder King's inheritance. As for the other things that the Thunder King left behind, Xiao Chen was not very interested. The other party used a sword, and he used a saber. The inheritance he could obtain was limited. However, he absolutely had to obtain the already extinct death fruit. The trip to the 8-star dragon grave made Xiao Chen realize how insignificant his strength was. He felt an extremely urgent pressure to advance to Martial Emperor. The most realistic obstacle before him was the consummation blue-robed emperor. He had to break through this hurdle quickly. Xiao Chen set a time limit of 2 months. Within 2 months, he had to condense the heart of an emperor and reach the consummation blue-robed emperor realm. The night was as cold as water. The Su clan's patriarch arranged a secluded and spacious residence for Xiao Chen in the city lord's residence. Within the quiet courtyard, Xiao Chen did not sleep. Instead, he closed his eyes and pondered the medial-grade profound martial technique that he obtained, Thousand-Year Hegemony Establishment. After studying it for more than a month, Xiao Chen finally gained some comprehension of this medial-grade profound martial technique. He was confident that he could execute it successfully. Thousand-Year Hegemony Establishment, not to mention its connection to the mysteries of time at its highest level, was too far away. Just from the name alone, this was a very tyrannical saber technique. The essence of this saber technique lay in the word hegemony, the tyranny of kingship. If Xianyuan Zhantian, who cultivated the state of kingship, tried this saber technique, he would be able to achieve twice the result with half the effort. Although Xiao Chen did not comprehend the state of kingship, his tyrannical kingship was no weaker than those who did. Be it in the Sky Dome Realm's 5-nation youth competition, Xiao Chen overcame all difficulties and killed his way to the peak, becoming the bearer of luck of the Sky Dome Realm, possessing the King True Dragon fate. Be it after coming to the Kunlun realm or the shocking battles with the outstanding talents of the various races, Xiao Chen won all of them without exception. Xiao Chen successfully swept through the younger generation of the Kunlun continent. Then, in the heavenly starry ocean, he defeated all the outstanding talents of the 4 seas with one move. This already gave Xiao Chen a strong aura and an unparalleled tyranny of kingship. If not for his strong aura and the formless tyranny of kingship, Xiao Chen would not have been able to subdue all the Su clan elders with his peak great perfection blue-robed emperor cultivation. After a long time, Xiao Chen suddenly opened his eyes. In the dark night, his eyes gave off a dazzling light. It was like they were even more dazzling than the sun. In this instant, a boundless tyranny spread out from Xiao Chen's body. The moment Xiao Chen opened his eyes, the strong tyranny of kingship made even the dark night submit to him. Spirit, qi, and mind were all present. Xiao Chen followed his feelings and chopped down with his saber, executing the Thousand-Year Hegemony Establishment. This caused the boundless dark night to lose its color. For the entire night, Xiao Chen executed this Thousand-Year Hegemony Establishment. Of course, he did not use too much law energy. That would have caused too much of a commotion. The strong cultivators of the entire Scorching Flame Island would have sensed it. The reason was none other than the tyranny of kingship that this move released. It was too unyielding and vigorous, giving off the feeling of a sovereign descending on the world, the sovereign of the night. Even though Shao Chen suppressed the might of this move, the strongest person in the city lord's residence, the Su clan's clan head, still clearly sensed it. What exactly is this person's background? He already has such strength at such a young age. He is already equal to the 10 outstanding talents of the human demon sea. That's not right. In terms of talent, the 10 outstanding talents of the human demon sea cannot compare to this white-clad person. Even the youngest of the 10 outstanding talents was at least 40 years old. However, Shao Chen looked like he was at most 30 years old. Such a person would either bring glory or destruction to the Su clan. I hope it is the former. The Su clan's clan head shook his head and stopped trying to sense Shao Chen's situation. Then, he entered his room to sleep. However, it was destined that he would not be able to sleep tonight. When the sky brightened, Shao Chen welcomed the rising sun. When he saw the purple chi coming from the east and the morning glow filling the sky, he felt a surge of vitality in his heart. Shao Chen sheathed his saber. Having not slept for the entire night, he felt somewhat fatigued. He circulated his energy and spat out a mouthful of turbid chi. Only then did he feel refreshed. The Thunder King's inheritance was in an unremarkable mountain range. The key was already in Ao Jiao's hands. Ao Jiao also knew the location, so there was no need for the Su clan's clan head to find him. Shao Chen could travel alone. After washing up, he prepared to depart. Young Master Shao, something bad has happened. The Wang clan's supreme elder is here. He wants to see you by name. Just at this moment, a Su clan manservant rushed into Shao Chen's courtyard in a fluster. His voice was somewhat messy. Did the news leak? The Wang clan definitely had spies in the vast city lord's residence. Shao Chen did not make any effort to hide in the city lord's residence. It was not strange for the Wang clan to discover him. However, this was making a big fuss over a minor issue. Shao Chen was only one of the 2 great perfection blue-robed emperors of the Wang clan. Perhaps it was just an excuse that they did not kill him. The clan head told you to stay back for a while. Don't go out first. They are helping to block him, the manservant said somewhat fearfully. When Shao Chen saw this, he wondered why the Su clan was so afraid of the Wang clan. Just one person came and scared the manservant to such a state. There's no need. I'll go and take a look. Don't. The clan head specifically instructed you not to go out no matter what, the manservant exclaimed. However, if Shao Chen wanted to leave, how could he stop him? Shao Chen pushed off the ground and leaped a few times. Soon, he arrived at a tall building in the city lord's residence. Now, he could see the scene outside the city. Only one great perfection blue-robed emperor with purple hair, red eyes, and purple hair came from the Wang clan's upper echelon. However, the entire upper echelon of the Su clan was startled. The clan head led the few remaining blue-robed emperors to wait for the Wang clan, appearing nervous. Little brother Su, are you really going to fight with me to the end? You even dare to take in someone who injured my Wang clan's people. Do you really not want to remain on Scorching Flame Island that much? Wang Feng asked indifferently as he looked coldly at this group of people. The Su clan's clan head said calmly, I think you are mistaken. The person you are looking for is not in the city lord's residence. Still trying to pretend? Ha! I advise you to hand over the person now. Otherwise, when I capture him myself. What are you going to do? Kill the entire Su clan? This was just a consummation blue-robed emperor, yet he dared to speak so boldly. Shao Chen could no longer keep watching, so he jumped down and interrupted the Su clan's clan head. Young Master Shao, why did you come out by yourself? The Su clan's clan head asked somewhat flustered. Wang Feng looked at Shao Chen, who jumped out. Shao Chen's white clothes, delicate face, and the boundless saber intent in the depths of his eyes matched what the 2 injured people said. You are courageous. Little brother Su, what else do you have to say? This time, are you going to scram from Scorching Flame Island, or do I have to make a move and chase you out? The expressions of the Su clan's clan elders changed drastically, feeling enraged. Xiao Qin said indifferently, "You don't seem to understand your situation. I should be the one saying that to you. Are you going to scram yourself, or do I have to make a move and chase you out?" Chapter 12:01. The moment Xiao Qin said this, all the Su clan elders present were shocked. To think that Xiao Qin said such arrogant words to a peak consummation blue-robed emperor. "Young Master Xiao, don't be rash. He is a mixed blood of the human race, the snow demon race, and the blood demon race. Furthermore, he is a mixed blood of 3 races. He is not an ordinary consummation blue-robed emperor." Seeing Xiao Qin being so aggressive, the Su clan's clan head could not help reminding him. Even if Xiao Qin wanted to fight, he could endure for a while. It would not be too late to fight after Xiao Qin came out of the Thunder King's inheritance and grew stronger. "You are so young, but you are boundlessly arrogant. Let's see how you are going to chase me out." Wang Feng shouted coldly, and the air suddenly turned cold. He stretched out his hand and condensed the water vapor in the air into an ice sword. A red light flashed on Wang Feng's body, drawing a red line on the ground. Suddenly, he arrived before Xiao Qin. This was the blood demon's innate movement technique, blood shadow art. Wang Feng thrust the ice sword ferociously at Xiao Qin's chest. When it was only 30 centimeters away from Xiao Qin, the sword suddenly lengthened by 5 centimeters. This sword strike was very strange, it was incredibly strange. Wang Feng's movement technique looked like he teleported, and the sword in his hand was also made of water vapor. He could control its length at will, catching his opponent off guard. Even if his opponent dodged, he would be caught off guard. For a long time, his momentum would be suppressed and he would be at a disadvantage. This was the first time Xiao Qin faced such an opponent. His rich combat experience told him that he absolutely could not retreat. Once he retreated, he would be complying with the other party's wishes. The other party would control the tempo. The bone-chilling, sharp sword was only 2 centimeters away from Xiao Qin in an instant. Then, the sword suddenly lengthened by 1 centimeter and touched Xiao Qin's chest. What was even more critical was that Wang Feng did not stop moving. That strange blood demon movement technique created a long scarlet line on the ground, allowing him to move as fast as lightning. The jaws of the Su clan's people gaped. They had not expected Wang Feng to be so strong. He wanted to kill Xiao Qin the moment he attacked. His speed was so fast that their minds could not keep up. 1, 2, 3, however, something even stranger happened. The scene seemed to freeze. Wang Feng's sword had clearly reached Xiao Qin's chest, but it was unable to advance any further. What happened? This question appeared in everyone's mind. 3 seconds was enough to kill a person more than 10 times, but Xiao Qin was still completely fine. Only Wang Feng, who was opposite Xiao Qin, knew that 2 flames, one golden and one white, were spinning rapidly in Xiao Qin's eyes. The solar true flame and lunar true flame stuck to the surface of Xiao Qin's body, forming an invisible wall. It was this wall that blocked Wang Feng's strange killing move. If one looked closely, they would discover that the wall wasn't invisible. There were 2 different forces in it, which spun rapidly and chased after the flames in Xiao Qin's eyes. Retreat. Even after 3 seconds, Wang Feng still could not break this wall. He knew that his time was up, so he executed the blood shadow art, wanting to retreat quickly. "I was waiting for you to retreat." As Wang Feng withdrew his sword and retreated, the flames in Xiao Qin's eyes, which had been storing up power for a long time, quickly spewed out. The invisible wall immediately turned into a yin-yang flame diagram. It gave off a golden light and materialized the 8 trigrams, yin-yang, and the 4 divisions. Then, it followed Xiao Qin's gaze and charged forward. Bang! The yin-yang flame diagram knocked Wang Feng, who had just vanished after executing the blood shadow art. He vomited blood and flew back. What followed was a resplendent saber light that illuminated the surroundings. Wang Feng chopped out 1,000 years of hegemony, establishing a dynasty that would not be destroyed for 10,000 years. After Xiao Qin drew his saber, many cities appeared behind him, extending endlessly. As he stood on the imperial city, he looked down on the world. The tyrannical air of a king soared through the clouds. Wang Feng, who was struck, felt like he was being suppressed by a dynasty. His protective armor shattered, and horrifying wounds appeared on his body. His internal organs all cracked, and the cracks spread continuously. The tyrannical air of a king pressed down on his chest, suffocating him. 1,000 years of hegemony, who can compete with me? A medial-grade profound martial technique. Wang Feng, who was on the ground, exclaimed with some horror on his face. It was not that he had never seen a medial-grade profound martial technique before. It was just that he had not seen the great perfection blue-robed emperor execute a medial-grade profound martial technique so proficiently. Xiaoqin sheathed his saber and did not stand on ceremony with Wang Feng. Scram! Don't let me see you again. Also, don't use me as an excuse to deal with the Su clan. I was the one who injured your men. If you have anything to say, come at me. If I find out that you did it again, I will kill you. For every person of the Su clan that dies, I will kill 10 people of the Wang clan. You can try if you don't believe me. When Wang Feng saw Xiaoqian's calm appearance, he felt defeated before an outstanding young talent for the first time. At this moment, although Wang Feng could barely put up a fight, when he saw Xiaoqian execute a medial-grade profound martial technique without turning red, he lost the courage to continue fighting. After Wang Feng stood up with much difficulty, he wanted to say something ruthless to give himself a way out. However, when he saw the cold murderous intent in Xiaoqian's eyes, his heart skipped a beat. For some reason, Wang Feng had a premonition that if he said anything else, he would not be able to leave even if he wanted to. Wang Feng glared hatefully at Xiaoqian. Then, without saying anything, he turned around and left. If Xiaoqian had seen Wang Feng's expression after he turned around, he would have guessed that this matter would not end just like that. Seeing Wang Feng leave in a sorry state, the Su clan's people felt somewhat stupefied. They could not understand how the battle ended so quickly. Furthermore, it was Xiaoqian who won. Wang Feng, who could be considered a peak character of Scorching Flame Island, lost to Xiaoqian in just 2 moves. Xiaoqian had lost without even making a sound. Young Master Xiao, many thanks. The Su clan's clan head stepped forward and performed a cupped fist salute. When the Su clan's clan head said that Xiaoqian wanted to come at him, he felt extremely touched. Xiaoqian returned the bow and said, "You are too polite. If the Su clan's half-step Emperor Wu comes to kill his way over, I will deal with him immediately after I return." Naturally, Xiaoqian did not think that Wang Feng would swallow this down so easily. He would definitely ask the Wang clan's clan head to come out and regain face. The Su clan's clan head said, "You can go in peace. There is no need to worry too much about the Su clan's half-step Emperor Wu. He will not dare to act recklessly." Xiaoqian glanced at this person. He believed that what this person said might be true. Otherwise, the Su clan would not have been able to remain on the island for more than 500 years despite being so much weaker. The Su clan definitely had some trump cards that the Wang clan feared. For example, some favors from Su He. After performing a cupped fist salute and saying no more, Xiaoqian soared into the air and headed for the Thunder King's inheritance in the mountain range. "Big brother, do you think that he can block the Wang clan's half-step Emperor Wu after he comes out?" As some people looked at Xiaoqian's back, they were filled with hope and some nervousness. The Su clan's clan head shook his head and said, "It is hard to say. I simply cannot see through this youth. Perhaps the strength that he revealed is just the tip of the iceberg." The tip of the iceberg? When the others heard this, they felt somewhat confused. If defeating the consummation blue-robed emperor was just the tip of the iceberg, then how strong was this white-clad person? In the desolate mountain range, Xiaoqian stopped in front of a cliff that did not look special. There were thousands or even hundreds of such cliffs in the mountain range. He could not make out anything special about them. From the perspective of a geomancy vein, this cliff looked ordinary, there was nothing special about it. Ao Jiao flew out of the immortal spirit ring. Holding the purple key, she took a look and said, "This is the place." Xiao Chen looked forward and saw an ordinary stone wall in front. If not for Ao Jiao saying that this was the entrance to the Thunder King's inheritance, he would not even bother to look at it. What you see is just an illusion. The Thunder King laid a bewildering formation here. It is actually a bewildering formation. This piqued Xiao Chen's interest. What kind of bewildering formation is this for it to be so profound? Even with Xiao Chen's strong mental energy, he could not sense anything at all. Xiao Chen's sea of consciousness surged as he sent his spiritual sense in. In the end, he found nothing, he could not sense anything different. Ao Jiao covered her mouth and smiled. Don't waste your energy. This is a bewildering formation from the ancient immortal epoch. The Thunder King can only execute it because he has a formation flag. Xiao Chen understood and stopped probing. The immortals of the immortal epoch cultivated magic energy. Comparing mental energy with them was like showing off before an expert, overestimating himself. Ao Jiao withdrew her smile, revealing an expression of nostalgia and sadness. In the end, this place was a sad place for her. After 1,000 years, she could not help but think of Xiao Chen, feeling sad. When Xiao Chen sensed this, he consoled, "Don't be too sad. I will definitely help you investigate the cause of the Thunder King's death." "Idiot, that's what I'm worried about," Ao Jiao muttered to herself. Then, she looked helplessly at Xiao Chen. Then, she started to break the bewildering formation. As she formed profound hand seals, Ao Jiao's hands gave off a dazzling light. A multicolored light shone on the stone wall. The stone wall before Xiao Chen became increasingly faint and thin, looking transparent. When she finished forming the hand seals, it vanished completely. A red formation flag flew into Ao Jiao's hands. Then, she handed it to Xiao Chen. Xiao Chen rejoiced in his heart. This was such a powerful formation flag. In the future, whether it was for escaping or trapping enemies, it could be considered a divine tool. Don't overthink. When the Thunder King obtained it, he could not use it. He barely managed to use it once. Now, it is probably trash. Before Xiao Chen finished speaking, the formation flag in Xiao Chen's hands slowly crumbled. Then, it scattered with the wind and disappeared. Xiao Chen rubbed his nose. When he reacted, he realized that Ao Jiao was purposely teasing him. He could not help smiling. When the stone wall vanished, the true appearance of the entrance to the Thunder King's inheritance appeared before Xiao Chen. It was a tightly shut stone door, simple and unadorned. Ao Jiao stepped forward and inserted the purple key into the keyhole. After twisting it a few times, the stone door opened. The door to the Thunder King's inheritance officially opened to Xiao Chen. Filled with anticipation, Xiao Chen walked in with large strides. Immediately, he was dazzled by the dazzling array of items in the treasury. Most of them are the Thunder King's spoils of war. There are also some treasures that the Thunder King obtained from exploring ancient ruins. There are also some of the Thunder King's cultivation experiences. Let me think, where are the death fruits that you want? They are really messy. Chapter 1202. As Ao Jiao strolled around the treasure trove, she explained the origins of the Thunder King's inheritance and recalled the location of the death fruit. It had been too long, so she could not remember. However, at this moment, Xiao Chen's attention was focused on a purple crystal on a stone platform in the center of the treasure trove. It was simply too beautiful. The crystal was about half the size of a human head, looking like a resplendent diamond. A nimble electric light swam in the center of the crystal. That light seemed to have a life of its own, changing into all sorts of shapes. It gave off a gentle purple light, mesmerizing people with one glance. This was especially so for a lightning-attributed cultivator like Xiao Chen. With one glance, he was completely captivated. As a result, Xiao Chen did not hear what Ao Jiao said at all, forgetting that his main purpose in coming to the Thunder King's inheritance was actually the death fruit. Xiao Chen asked somewhat anxiously, "Little Ao Jiao, what is that electric light in the purple crystal?" When Ao Jiao, who was currently searching for the death fruit, heard this question. She retorted somewhat angrily, "What are you looking at? Did you not hear what I said earlier?" Xiaochen smiled awkwardly and asked, "What did you say earlier?" Ao Jiao could not help but feel frustrated. The moment this fellow came in, it was like she was helping him search for the death fruit. In the end, after speaking for so long, he did not hear her at all. Seeing that Ao Jiao's expression was off, Xiaochen quickly reacted and apologized. There was no helping it. This mysterious purple crystal was simply too attractive. Otherwise, Xiaochen would not have not heard anything Ao Jiao said. In reality, Xiaochen was rather surprised by the harvest from the Dragon's Gate treasure trove. After the harvest from the Dragon's Gate treasure trove, Xiaochen did not hold much hope for the Thunder King's inheritance. Furthermore, one was a saber, and the other was a sword. It would be hard for them to provide any real help. Who knew, the moment Xiaochen entered the Thunder King's inheritance, he would be attracted by this mysterious purple crystal. This is the innate thunder crystal. When one's will of thunder reaches 100% comprehension and breaks through the bottleneck of will, it will transform into a soul crystal. His will has completely solidified, turning into a purple crystal. This is one of the few standards to measure Emperor Wu's strength. Xiaochen suddenly understood. After the saber's soul reached 100% comprehension, it would form a saber domain. In the future, one's will would completely materialize and become an innate thunder crystal. The innate thunder crystal and the acquired thunder will code represented two completely different profoundness. There was a huge difference in the control of thunder energy. Ao Jiao continued, "What you see is the Thunder King's innate thunder crystal. It has reached the 4th rank and has formed a thunder soul inside. It can be considered the most formal treasure among the Thunder King's relics. For an ordinary Emperor Wu to completely materialize his own attribute will was as difficult as ascending to the heavens. Furthermore, it required extremely high comprehension ability and fortuitous encounters. Even if one cultivated their will to consummation, they would not be able to materialize it." However, not only did Sang Mu leave behind an innate thunder crystal, but it had also reached the 4th rank and nurtured a thunder soul. Its value was easy to imagine. A thought occurred to Xiaochen. He was a lightning-attributed cultivator himself. Furthermore, his will of thunder had reached great perfection long ago. He asked, "Ao Jiao, with my current strength, can I absorb the innate thunder crystal that the Thunder King left behind?" Ao Jiao smiled and replied, "Naturally, you can. Otherwise, why would I bring you to the Thunder King's relics? However, you cannot completely absorb it. You will have to wait until you reach Emperor Wu before you can completely absorb it and inherit it." After Ao Jiao spoke, she stretched out her hand, and the beautiful purple crystal left the stone platform and flew into Ao Jiao's hand. "Place this thunder crystal into your sea of consciousness and slowly absorb it. Remember, don't be too anxious. Otherwise, a small explosion will injure your spiritual soul. If it is serious, you might end up becoming an idiot." Ao Jiao had a serious expression as she handed the thunder crystal to Xiaochen. Then, she reminded him a few times, "Give it a try first. I will continue to help you search for the death fruit. It has been so many years, I don't even remember where I put it." Xiaochen's expression turned grave as he received the innate thunder crystal from Ao Jiao's hand. It was hard to imagine that the energy of the will of thunder could completely materialize. This already defied the logic of Xiaochen's previous life, it ignored the laws of physics. The purple thunder crystal floated quietly in Xiaochen's palm. Naturally, the most interesting thing was the nimble purple electric light inside. According to what Ao Jiao said, this was a thunder soul. Only when the innate thunder crystal reached rank 4 could one condense a thunder soul. An innate thunder crystal with a soul and one without a soul differed by another grade. Xiaochen finally understood why the Thunder King could challenge the Prime Thunder King when he just advanced to Sovereign Martial Emperor. Furthermore, he only lost to the Thunder King by one move. Common sense could no longer be used to describe such a person with such astonishing talent. For now, Xiaochen did not think too much. He found a prayer mat in the cave of the Thunder King's inheritance and sat down cross-legged. Then, he overlapped his palms, and the innate thunder crystal lay quietly in his palms. The will of thunder in Xiao Chen's sea of consciousness felt a strange sense of familiarity with the innate thunder crystal. Without needing Xiao Chen to control it, it felt an urge to absorb the innate thunder crystal into his sea of consciousness. Instead of feasting on it, Xiao Chen had to suppress this urge, letting it absorb this innate thunder crystal step by step. The magnificent purple thunder crystal slowly floated up. When it reached the same height as Xiao Chen's forehead, a strong suction came from his forehead. A strong suction force came from between Xiao Chen's eyebrows, covering the thunder crystal and quickly pulling it into his sea of consciousness. In the boundless sea of consciousness, the form of Xiao Chen's will, the purple lightning talisman, slowly spread out according to Xiao Chen's thoughts, turning into dense purple motes of light. The purple motes of light that looked like a sea of stars surrounded the innate thunder crystal. They were like moths flying into a flame, surging over and sticking to the surface of the crystal. The thousands of purple motes of light were like newborn babies sticking to the surface of the crystal, absorbing it in large gulps. The entire process of absorbing the innate thunder crystal was very natural. There was no need for Xiao Chen to guide it. It was like an innate ability. This saved Xiao Chen a lot of effort. All he needed to do was control the rate of absorption. As Xiao Chen slowly absorbed the energy in the innate thunder crystal, a purple electric light appeared on the surface of his body. Crackling electric currents appeared in the air of the entire cave. Xiao Chen could clearly feel that his will of thunder, which had not improved for a long time, was rapidly improving. In just a few breaths, the power of thunder that Xiao Chen grasped had already strengthened significantly. If one could not control it, it would be easy for one to become addicted to it. One would not know where one's limits were, causing one to explode. Fortunately, Xiao Chen was sufficiently calm. When he felt that it was about time, he immediately forced the motes of light on the innate thunder crystal to scatter back. This was something that required a lot of willpower. The difficulty was like getting a drug addict to stop what he was doing. Pu Si. A light flashed on Xiao Chen's forehead, and the purple innate thunder crystal was forced out. When he opened his eyes, Xiao Chen heaved a long sigh of relief. When he looked at the innate thunder crystal in his hand, it had shrunk slightly. If one did not look carefully, it would be hard to notice this subtle difference. One would not be able to sense anything different from before. So, I only absorbed this much, Xiao Chen muttered to himself as he put away the innate thunder crystal. Let's see how much stronger the will of thunder has become. With a thought, the form of the will of thunder, the purple talisman, flew out from his forehead. Xiao Chen held it in his hand and fiddled with it. Compared to before, aside from the stronger energy contained in this purple lightning talisman, there were also some other differences. But he couldn't pinpoint what they were. After a while, Xiao Chen's eyes lit up. He finally remembered what was different. The purple lightning talisman had become more realistic. As it lay in his hand, it looked like a talisman and not the form of the will of thunder. Although it could not compare to the materialized innate thunder crystal, such an improvement was still visible. Xiao Chen could not help feeling some anticipation. If this purple lightning talisman completely materialized in the future, would it have some of the charm of the divine lightning talisman in misleading Fog Lake, achieving an unexpected effect? Xiao Chen let the talisman return to his sea of consciousness. Then, he stood up and checked himself. Although his cultivation did not increase, the improvement of the will of thunder increased his combat prowess by at least 20%. The most direct manifestation of this was the improvement of the might of his lightning saber soul. I found it. Just at this moment, Ao Jiao let out a cry of pleasant surprise. Xiao Chen raised his eyebrows and quickly walked over. It was as he expected. What Ao Jiao found was the death fruit that he yearned for even in his dreams. This was a strange fruit that was completely formed from the condensation of the aura of death. With just a glance, one could feel the dense aura of death, making one feel extremely uncomfortable. Aside from the ghost race and corpse race cultivators who cultivated the death Tao, no one would like this aura. It really is the death fruit. However, right now, when Xiaoqin saw this genuine death fruit, his face filled with joy. Hee hee. I did not lie to you, right? I said it was here, and it was here. However, I cannot help you with the flower of life after that. You can only rely on yourself. Xiaoqin put away the death fruit and said, there is no need to worry about that. As long as it is not extinct, I am confident of finding it in the human demon sea. How to find it? Of course, he would use resources to exchange for it. He did not believe that he would not be able to find it if he offered 10 or 100 times the price. After all, although this flower of life was precious, it was not at the level of an unparalleled divine herb. After putting away the death fruit, Xiaoqin felt more relaxed as he explored the Thunder King's inheritance. He also became more casual as he wandered around. Ao Jiao accompanied Xiaoqin, acting as a free guide. She explained how each treasure came to be and what happened at that time. She was very familiar with them, speaking in great detail. In terms of scale, the treasures here were definitely not as vast as the Dragon's Gate's treasure trove on Heavenly Star Island. However, the total value was not that much lower. The Thunder King's inheritance was more exquisite and did not have as many black astral coins, divine materials, or other common resources. They were all peak secret treasures, martial techniques, cultivation techniques, and medicinal pills. Xiaoqin was not too interested in these. Even if Xiaoqin had an emperor-grade secret treasure, he would not be able to use it. It would not be as easy as using a peak-quality king-grade secret treasure. Chapter 1203. On the other hand, Xiaoqin valued some of the Thunder King's cultivation insights. There were detailed records of Emperor Wu's cultivation after that. Emperor Wu already stood at the top of the pyramid of this world. Any information about Emperor Wu, be it his cultivation or his martial techniques or destructive prowess, would be hard to find out. Without reaching that level of cultivation and entering that circle, outsiders would find it hard to understand. With the Thunder King's cultivation insights, Xiaoqin could take a peek into Emperor Wu's circle in advance. However, no matter how uninterested he was, anything here could be sold for a sky-high price if it was casually thrown out. As Xiaoqin walked around, he listened to Ao Jiao's detailed explanation. Then, he nodded and casually swept it into his universe ring. This is a set of treasured sabers known as the 7 deadly sins. They correspond to pride, envy, rage, sloth, greed, gluttony, and lust. All of them are divine weapons. Back then, the Thunder King spent a lot of effort to defeat the original owner and obtain this set of sabers. Not bad. If the 7 divine weapons are combined, their might would be no weaker than a transcendent divine weapon. This is truly good stuff. I'll take it. This is the Snow Ginseng King that has lived for 50,000 years. It can increase Emperor Wu's cultivation by 100 years. Back then, he snatched it from under the noses of a group of sovereign martial emperors in the heart of the ocean. It can even increase Emperor Wu's cultivation. It truly lives up to being an herb king. I'll take it. This is a medial-grade profound martial technique. Unfortunately, it is a sword Dao martial technique. You will not be able to learn it. Ha! It is not unfortunate. There are more people who study the sword than the saber in this world. If you change hands, you will be able to fetch a sky-high price. I'll take it. This medallion seems to be an ancestral keepsake of one of the 9 ranks of the great families. I wonder if this sect still exists. An ancestral keepsake. That is definitely not an ordinary item. I'll take it. This is a soul-charming grass. It is a peak-grade divine herb for nourishing the soul. It is also very valuable. Hee hee. However, you cannot take it. This is what I want. By the time Ao Jiao finished explaining, there was not a single treasure left in the hall. Xiaoqin had kept all of them into his universe ring. Although Xiaoqin had no use for the things here at the moment, and many of them might not even be of use in the future. However, every single one of them was priceless, and every single one of them was an unimaginable harvest for ordinary people. The treasures that the Thunder King left behind were all of high quality. It would be a pity to lose any one of them. To Xiao Chen, the most practical items were naturally the innate thunder crystal and the death fruit. The former contained boundless energy. Xiao Chen did not know how strong his will of thunder would become after he finished devouring it. Perhaps, before he reached Emperor Wu's level, he had already materialized his will of thunder and formed his own innate thunder crystal. As for the latter, its practicality was self-evident. It was one of the two necessities for cultivating the life and death art. After looking around the empty Thunder King treasure trove, Jiao sighed, somewhat speechless. From now on, the heavy mark of the Thunder King in this world was gone. Xiao Chen, I would like to stay here for a while longer, Jiao said. Xiao Chen nodded to indicate his understanding. As the saying went, seeing something reminds one of the person. When one revisited an old place, it was hard not to recall the people and matters of the past. Xiao Chen needed to properly digest the shock that the innate thunder crystal brought him. Now that it was very difficult to raise one's cultivation, it was extremely difficult for Xiao Chen to raise his combat prowess. To Xiao Chen, Sang Mu's innate thunder crystal was like sending charcoal in snowy weather. As Xiao Chen absorbed the energy of the innate thunder crystal, he familiarized himself with the might of the strengthened lightning saber soul. Hence, he was not bored. After 1 hour, Jiao tossed the key into the treasure trove. Then, she closed the heavy stone doors with a creak. The history of the Thunder King was completely sealed behind these stone doors. Xiao Chen opened his eyes, not knowing what to say. He thought about how he had only met the Thunder King once. That was not a true meeting, just the mental mark that the Thunder King left on his weapon. However, from this one meeting, Xiao Chen knew what kind of person the Thunder King was. Xiao Chen felt it was a great pity for the Thunder King's death. Xiao Chen swore to himself that one day, he would find the true murderer of the Thunder King. Then, he would cast aside the dense fog and kill the enemy hiding in the shadows. Jiao's expression recovered somewhat. She smiled faintly and said, "Where are we going now? Are we going directly to the large merchant associations to search for news of the Flower of Life, or are we going to the Su clan first?" Xiao Chen answered without hesitation, "Let's go to the Su clan first. It is better to deal with the matter that we promised those people first. I also want to know if there is still a gap between me and the half-step Emperor Wu." If everything went as expected, when Wang Feng returned, he would definitely tell the half-step Emperor Wu, who oversaw the Su clan, about his encounter at the Su clan. Hence, before Wang Feng left, he reminded Wang Feng that if the Wang clan's half-step Emperor Wu really came to kill him, Wang Feng should deal with him first and not clash head-on. Wang Feng should wait until he returned. The Su clan city was built in this vast mountain range. It was not very far from the Thunder King's inheritance. Xiao Chen did not spend much time before he rushed back to the city lord's residence. The instant Xiao Chen landed, he felt that something was wrong. The guards at the city lord's residence were nowhere to be seen. Even the signboard of the city lord's residence had been torn in half. The aura of an intense battle lingered in the air. Xiao Chen's expression changed as he rushed in. In the end, he discovered that there was not a single person in the city lord's residence. Occasionally, there were bloodstains on the ground. The signs of a battle were very obvious. However, it was not particularly intense. The entire city lord's residence was still relatively intact. After searching the city lord's residence, Xiao Chen did not see a single living person or corpse. This was extremely strange. Xiao Chen frowned and entered deep thought. The city lord's residence was not severely damaged. This meant that the battle did not take long. For someone to be able to sweep through the entire Su clan city lord's residence so quickly, there was only one possibility. That half-step Emperor Wu of the Wang clan had personally made a move. Not only that, but all the peak experts of the Wang clan had also made a move. It looks like I said something that I should not have. I hope that I did not cause any big trouble. Before Xiao Chen let Wang Feng go, he had said that for every Su clan member he killed, he would kill 10 Wang clan members. Perhaps this had touched the other party's reverse scale. Since the other party did not know of Xiao Chen's reputation, they might go berserk. This was especially so for the half-step Emperor Wu of the Wang clan. When he heard that this was just a brat of unknown origins, he might go even more extreme. You had best not do anything stupid. I am not someone who jokes around. Seeing that the city lord's residence was empty, Xiao Chen's expression turned cold. After saying this with eyes filled with killing chi, his figure flashed and he left the city lord's residence. With such a huge commotion, the ordinary people in the city should have heard some news. Right now, Xiao Chen only wanted to know what had happened to the Su clan members. Were they dead or alive? Are you asking about the Su clan? What is your relationship with the Su clan? Xiao Chen asked casually as he stopped a passerby in the city. When the passerby heard Xiao Chen's question, his expression changed drastically, turning cautious. I have nothing to do with the Su clan. I was just going to look for a friend. In the end, when I went to the city lord's residence, I discovered that it was completely empty. Just help me out and tell me what happened. The passerby's expression made Xiao Chen's heart sink. So, he took out some black astral coins and handed them over. After the passerby received the black astral coins, his expression improved. He said, 2 days ago, the Wang clan's clan head suddenly came out of closed-door cultivation. Then, he led all the elites of the Wang clan and charged into the city lord's residence. Using the strength of the half-step Emperor Wu, he swept through all the experts of the Su clan and brought them all to Scorching Flame City. Xiao Chen felt suspicious. He asked, since the Wang clan is so strong, why did they let the Su clan exist for so long? Why did they not make a move earlier? This is something you do not know. The Su clan's ancestor, Emperor Su He, had some good friends when he was alive. Although the Wang clan had friends as well, they did not dare to make things too ugly. They only tried to force the Su clan out of Scorching Flame Island. This time, I heard that the Su clan hired a helper to injure a supreme elder of the Wang clan, angering the Wang clan's clan head. So, they did not bother to give him any face. Xiao Chen sent this person away and entered deep thought. He made a move 2 days ago. 2 days ago, it happened to be around the time when Xiao Chen entered the Thunder King's inheritance. The Su clan moved really fast. Wang Feng did not take Xiao Chen's advice to heart at all. Does he really think that I am just a great perfection blue-robed emperor? It looks like Xiao Chen is indeed too kind at times. A light flashed, and Xiao Chen soared into the air. Then, he quickly flew towards the core of the island, Scorching Flame City. Xiao Chen unfurled the freedom wings and executed Thunder Dragon steps. Then, he flew as fast as he could, as fast as lightning. Xiao Chen was somewhat surprised to discover that the strengthening of his will of thunder allowed him to control lightning-attributed energy even more smoothly. 1 step, 2 steps, 3 steps, Xiao Chen broke through the previous limit of 12 steps. Now, he could take 15 steps in an instant. When he executed the Thunder Dragon Chop after 15 steps, its might would probably double. This was a pleasant surprise. Not only did it increase the speed of Thunder Dragon steps, but it also increased the might of the Thunder Dragon Chop. Inside Scorching Flame City, the Su clan's clan head, the group of elders, and the Su clan's disciples were all severely injured in the largest plaza in the city. Tied with ropes, Xiao Chen knelt in front of the many cultivators in the plaza. A Wang clan bladesman holding a large saber stood beside every kneeling Su clan member. With one order, they could decapitate all the Su clan members, dying without a complete corpse. The Wang clan's clan head, Wang Feng, and the other Wang clan cultivators stood on a tall platform in the plaza, looking down coldly at this group of prisoners. The Wang clan's clan head, Wang Yang, sat in the middle. His aged face was cold and filled with killing chi. He was expressionless, and the might that flowed out of his body inspired fear in everyone who looked at him. The aura of the half-step Emperor Wu made him the center of attention just by sitting there. Wang Yang looked indifferently at the Su clan's clan head and said, Su Tianyun, all these years, I have not completely wiped out your Su clan. You know the reason. It is not that I, Wang Yang, do not have the ability to do so. It is that your dead ancestor still has some influence. However, don't think that I can't do anything to you. Chapter 1204. The Su clan's clan head, Su Tianyun, had a fatigued expression. Wounds covered his body as he pleaded, "This time, I was wrong. I do not want to ask for too much. How about giving my Su clan's juniors a way out? Crippling their cultivations and turning them into ordinary people would be fine. Just sparing their lives would be sufficient." Wang Yang said coldly, "Now you know to beg me. It's not that I did not give you a chance. However, not only did you not grasp it, but you even brought people to injure several of my Wang clan's elders. You even spouted nonsense, saying that for every person I killed from your Su clan, I would kill 10 from my Wang clan. You are truly overturning the heavens." At the end of his speech, Wang Yang showed a furious expression as he suddenly stood up. The half-step Emperor Wu's strong aura immediately spread out, forcing the cultivators watching outside the plaza to take a few steps back involuntarily. "Today, I will kill your entire Su clan. Let's see how you are going to take revenge on my Wang clan." The moment Wang Yang said this, the expressions of all the Su clan members kneeling on the ground changed drastically. Their eyes filled with horror at the impending death. Su Tianyun clenched his teeth. There was no horror in his eyes, only some regret. The appearance of Xiao Qin did not have much to do with the Su clan falling into such a state. He was just the fuse. Actually, Su Tianyun should have realized that the old ancestor's favor would not last for long. Su Tianyun was once so glorious. Now, he was just a dead man. Furthermore, he had been dead for 500 years. As time passed, those relationships of the past were no longer reliable. However, Su Tianyun could not see it clearly. He thought that if he dragged things out, there would be a day when the situation would change, allowing the Su clan to become the overlord of Scorching Flame Island again. Unfortunately, that day did not come. Instead, Su Tianyun missed the opportunity to leave, turning his entire clan into prisoners, waiting to be slaughtered. Actually, Su Tianyun could not be blamed. If not for fulfilling the old ancestor's promise, he would not have remained on this Scorching Flame Island. Compared to the Su clan's elders, Wang Yang was much more indifferent to his attachment to power. The Wang clan's clan head, Wang Yang, swept his gaze around like he was waiting for someone to appear. However, after a while, no one appeared. He retracted his gaze, made a gesture, and said indifferently, "Do it." Immediately, the Wang clan bladesmen in the plaza raised their butcher knives. When they landed, the heads of all the Su clan cultivators would fall to the ground. Many of the cultivators watching from outside the plaza could not bear to watch. Who would have thought that the once mighty Su clan would fall to such a state? Killing chi permeated the plaza. Many of the Su clan descendants could not help but start sobbing. Clang! Just then, a resonant saber hum suddenly rang out outside the city. The sound wave carried with it a boundlessly powerful saber intent, blowing away the thick clouds in the sky. Suddenly, the sunlight doubled in brightness. All the bladesmen in the plaza felt like they could not hold on to their weapons. As the saber hum rang out, it trembled violently. Finally, it struggled free with a boom and flew into the air. The Wang clan bladesman, who was about to make a move, was no exception. In the sky above the square, countless sabers of all kinds were gathered. They buzzed and trembled, forming a shocking spectacle. What a strong saber intent! That person's saber soul is at least 50% comprehended. This is an incredible bladesman. With one saber hum, he shocked the thousands of bladesmen in the plaza. This is really shocking. Could this person be the mysterious bladesman who injured several of the Wang clan elders? In an instant, the square became chaotic. Everyone's gazes turned to the source of the sound, and they were extremely curious. The Wang clan's clan head, who sat in the middle of the tall platform, was not shocked. Instead, he rejoiced. A heavy murderous intent flashed in his eyes. Pu Ci. A purple lightning dragon streaked across the sky. It was so fast that no one could catch it with the naked eye. Everywhere it passed, the strong saber intent shattered all the treasured sabers in the sky. When the lightning dragon landed, it turned into a white figure holding a saber. Who else could it be but Xiao Chen? Xiao Chen clapped his hands, and a boundless saber chi swept through the plaza in a seemingly chaotic manner. The ropes binding the Su clan's people all shattered. I have been searching for you for 2 days, but I did not see you. I thought that you were a coward, running off without a trace after taking the Thunder King's inheritance. Unexpectedly, you really dared to show yourself. Wang Yang smiled faintly as he said something unperturbed, surprising Xiao Chen. Unexpectedly, Wang Yang also knew about the existence of the Thunder King's inheritance and even laid a trap for Xiao Chen. Although Xiao Chen was surprised, his face did not change at all. No one could tell what he was thinking, making him appear unfathomable. Hand over the Thunder King's inheritance, and I'll let you live. Also, I can spare the Su clan's trash. Wang Yang had heard about the news of the Thunder King's inheritance long ago. After all, Su He had been on Scorching Flame Island for more than 1,000 years. There would always be some clues about it. As the local tyrant of Scorching Flame Island, as long as Wang Yang investigated seriously, he would be able to find some clues and find out the truth. However, the information Wang Yang obtained was that unless one truly possessed the inheritance, even if one obtained the Su clan's key, it would be difficult to enter the Thunder King's inheritance. Hence, Wang Yang had not tried to force his way in. He did not hold much hope for the Thunder King's inheritance either. Firstly, this piece of meat was too juicy, and Wang Yang was afraid of choking himself. Secondly, the Thunder King's inheritance was not easy to enter. However, Wang Yang had already figured out Xiao Chen's identity through the spies in the city lord's residence. Naturally, Wang Yang could not miss out on the Thunder King's inheritance that delivered itself to him. At most, he would just give the peak treasures to the faction behind him. Xiao Chen said indifferently, "This is rare. You laid such a big trap to bait me. Do you really think that you can defeat me?" Wang Yang revealed a mocking smile. There is no lack of demonic geniuses and outstanding talents in the human demon sea. As a consummation blue-robed emperor, he could defeat the half-step Emperor Wu. However, you are a great perfection blue-robed emperor. It is impossible for you to defeat me. I hope that you will not make a decision that you will regret. Xiao Chen ignored Wang Yang. He glanced around and fixed his gaze on Wang Feng, who stood beside Wang Yang. When Wang Feng saw Xiao Chen look over, he instinctively felt some fear and took a step back. Wang Feng could not help but think. Then, he cursed in his heart, with the clan head guarding here, why am I afraid of this brat? What are you looking at? Are you thinking of killing me? Wang Feng cursed boldly. Xiao Chen said indifferently, there is no need to be in such a rush to die. It is not your turn yet. Half-step Emperor Wu Wang Yang, do you dare to fight me? Xiao Chen stepped forward and glared at Wang Yang. If he wanted to kill Wang Feng, he had to kill this half-step Emperor Wu first. As long as this half-step Emperor Wu Wang Yang died, none of the Wang clan cultivators would be able to block 10 moves from him. The white-clad Xiao Chen faced the unperturbed half-step Emperor Wu in a neither servile nor overbearing manner as he issued his challenge. You want to fight me? Interesting. Receive one move from me first. Wang Yang put on airs, looking down on Xiao Chen. He did not accept Xiao Chen's challenge. Without even standing up, he threw a palm strike. Boom! When Wang Yang threw a palm strike, mysterious phenomena appeared behind him. A pillar of fire soared into the sky, instantly burning half the sky. With this palm strike, a strong will of fire appeared without a doubt. Wang Yang truly lived up to being a soul blood demon with a high demonic flame demon bloodline. When the palm wind swept over, a startling heatwave formed a huge, formless flaming hand. It was like a heaven-subduing rock pressing down. He truly lives up to being the strongest overlord of Scorching Flame Island. Wang Yang's palm strike is really strong. I wonder where this white-clad person came from. A great perfection blue-robed emperor dares to challenge a half-step Emperor Wu. He must be tired of living. He overestimates himself. The 10 outstanding talents can challenge a half-step Emperor Wu. That is because they are consummation blue-robed emperors. This white-clad bladesman is too confident. It seems like since ancient times, not many people have been able to cross 2 cultivation realms and defeat a half-step Emperor Wu. The crowd, which originally held some expectations for Xiao Chen, all turned to Wang Yang's side after they saw Wang Yang's strength. They shook their heads and sighed. I hope you can continue putting on airs. Xiao Chen replied indifferently. Then, he pushed off the ground and unleashed his peak consummation will of thunder. Thunderclouds instantly filled the sky, and thunder roared, encasing a large area behind Xiao Chen. His vast and majestic aura actually seemed to overshadow Wang Yang's blazing sky. This was still not enough. With a thought, Xiao Chen brought out his 60% comprehended saber soul. The saber's soul merged with the will of thunder, forming a strong lightning saber soul. As Xiao Chen stood there, he looked like a divine weapon burning with electricity. Just as the palm wind was about to arrive, he drew the lunar shadow saber in his hand. A magnificent purple blade light was unleashed, accompanied by thunderclaps that resounded in the sky and lightning that tore the sky apart. Xiao Chen shouted, and Wang Yang's palm strike, which was burning with flames and had an overwhelming aura, broke with one saber strike. Relaxed and casual. In terms of aura, Xiao Chen was no weaker than Wang Yang's. Xiao Chen used the simplest action to silently tell everyone here, Wang Yang, you are not qualified to put on airs before me. This was like a resounding slap on Wang Yang's ear. Not only is the white-robed Xiao Chen qualified to fight with you, but he can also easily break the martial technique you used to test me. Kill. This was the first time Xiao Chen faced the half-step Emperor Wu head-on. He did not hold anything back. He unleashed his strong will of thunder and his 60% comprehended saber soul. With the consummation will of thunder, the 60% comprehended saber soul, and Xiao Chen's 10,000 heavenly laws, Xiao Chen did not lose to Wang Yang in terms of strength. In terms of strength, Xiao Chen did not lose to Wang Yang at all. Even though Wang Yang was a half-step martial emperor, he did not lose at all. When Xiao Chen flew over, he startled the Wang clan's people. They quickly fled, afraid of getting caught up in the shockwaves of the battle. The shock waves from the flames and saber chi scattered everywhere. The rescued Su clan's people in the plaza and the surrounding cultivators quickly scattered, distancing themselves from the battlefield. The seated Wang Yang could no longer maintain his calm and indifferent appearance when Xiao Chen broke the palm wind and sent out a resplendent and dazzling saber strike. Chapter 1205. A pair of black divine metal gloves appeared on Wang Yang's hands. He clenched them into fists and shouted a war cry as he stood up and punched. This punch was Wang Yang's signature killing move. When he punched, 18 pillars of fire burst out from behind him, looking like they wanted to shatter the sky. However, this punch that Wang Yang placed his hopes on failed to gain an overwhelming advantage, knocking back Xiao Chen. Xiao Chen executed the Thunder Dragon Chop. He took 12 steps. With each step, 1,000 purple lightning dragons shot out from under his feet, baring their fangs and roaring ferociously. By the time Xiao Chen finished his 12 steps, more than 10,000 lightning dragons had gathered behind him. The huge scene of 10,000 dragons soaring in the air pressed down on Wang Yang. At the start, Wang Yang had put on airs and refused to stand up. By the time he stood up, he discovered that he had already lost the initiative against Xiao Chen, whose aura had erupted. There was a price to pay for putting on airs. Bang! The saber light and the fist light clashed. Countless cracks immediately appeared under the two's feet. The entire vast plaza instantly crumbled. Dust flew everywhere, and all the buildings in the square were instantly blown to smithereens. Blood leaked out of a corner of Wang Yang's lips. Xiao Chen's tyrannical saber strike pressed his body into the ground. Horror flashed in Wang Yang's eyes. He discovered that his greatest advantage in cultivation was useless against Xiao Chen. For some reason, Xiao Chen, who was only a great perfection blue-robed emperor, actually had a will of thunder that reached the peak, even higher than Wang Yang's. Xiao Chen's saber soul had even reached 60% comprehension. This was incredible. Without giving Wang Yang any time to think, Xiao Chen took the initiative and gained the upper hand. Then, he executed the 1,000-year hegemony establishment again. The densely packed city looked like a banner. As Xiao Chen stood on the imperial capital, he swung his saber and materialized an immortal dynasty with the tyranny of kingship. The saber light contained the luck of a dynasty for 1,000 years. When the will of thunder reached its peak, Xiao Chen gained a new comprehension of the 1,000-year hegemony establishment. Every time he executed it, it was much better than the previous time. Standing on the imperial city, one figure after another appeared amidst the mysterious phenomena. They knelt in all directions and called out loudly, "Long live our emperor, the Azure Dragon King!" Throughout the ages, the dynasty would not be destroyed. The heart of a king would always be domineering. This saber strike displayed the domineering aura of a king whose heart was higher than the sky and who looked down on all outstanding talents, giving off an overwhelming aura. "I don't care if you are a half-step Emperor Wu, you have to kneel on the ground." This peerlessly tyrannical saber strike shocked everyone. No one expected Xiao Chen to erupt with such a startling medial-grade profound martial technique. As a great perfection blue-robed emperor, it was already not easy for him to use a medial-grade profound martial technique as a killing move. However, now, not only did Xiao Chen execute it proficiently, but he even managed to integrate it and reach small perfection. This was simply unbelievable. This white-robed bladesman's talent was too strong and demonic. With this saber strike, Wang Yang, who was already at a disadvantage, no longer had any thoughts of fighting back. He just defended with all his might. Wang Yang drove the vast heavenly laws. Because he drove the power of the world too frequently, the surrounding scenery spun continuously. Of course, the world did not truly spin. It was just that the power of the world was too vast, giving off a mysterious phenomenon of the world spinning. Of course, the world wasn't really rotating. It was just that the power of the world was too great, causing people to feel as if the world was spinning. When the crowd discovered the real scene, Wang Yang condensed a thick wall of flames in front of him. The dense flames turned into solid divine flame bricks, piling together and forming a thick and dense wall. The dense flames transformed into numerous seemingly solid fiery bricks that piled up together to form a thick and condensed wall. The dense flames turned into solid divine flame bricks, piling up together and forming a thick and dense wall. After Xiao Chen executed the 1,000-year hegemony establishment and condensed the luck of a dynasty, he brought out the full strength of Wang Yang's half-step Emperor Wu. However, it was useless. Wang Yang lost the initiative and lost all momentum. After Xiao Chen executed the 1,000-year hegemony establishment and condensed the luck of a dynasty, the defensive move that Wang Yang executed could not block this horrifying saber strike. Wang Yangsang's defensive move could not block this peerlessly terrifying blade. The sound of "Long live" shook the heavens and the earth. When the blade fell, it instantly cut through the divine wall of fire. With a cracking sound, the light of the saber cut through the divine wall of flames and fell slowly towards Wang Yang. Wang Yang's face filled with horror. He had not expected that after Xiao Chen seized the initiative, the medial-grade martial technique he executed would be so horrifying. Bang! When the divine flame wall was completely chopped in half, the saber strike knocked Wang Yang back. The armor on his chest shattered, and he vomited a large mouthful of blood. When he landed, his hair was disheveled, looking very miserable. In just a short 3 moves, Xiao Chen, who seized the initiative, put Wang Yang at a disadvantage. These 3 moves boosted Xiao Chen's confidence. The seemingly undefeatable half-step Emperor Wu was not as horrifying as the rumors made him out to be. At the very least, this Wang Yang before Xiao Chen was only a so-so. Without a medial-grade profound martial technique or a profound cultivation technique, just by relying on his strong cultivation, there was nothing to fear. Of course, Xiao Chen was not overly arrogant. For such a half-step Emperor Wu, as long as he did not deal a fatal blow, it would be very difficult to severely injure him. Not only was the other party the blue-robed emperor who merged his soul with the heavenly seal, but he also survived the great tribulation of wind and fire. The resilience of his life force was terrifyingly strong. Xiao Chen wanted to test his combat prowess, to see where the limits of his combat prowess were. After sending Wang Yang flying with one saber strike, Xiao Chen did not charge over. Instead, he stopped and looked coldly to the front. Half-step Emperor Wu, you are only so-so. Today, I will let you accept your defeat wholeheartedly, giving you a chance to catch your breath. The moment Xiao Chen said this, everyone was stunned. This white-robed bladesman was really arrogant. How arrogant! Your strength is indeed unexpectedly strong. However, if you want to defeat me like this, it is far from enough. Even the great tribulation of wind and fire on the Emperor's road could not finish me off. You definitely cannot kill me either. Wang Yang's hair fluttered in the wind with a sinister expression, looking like a clump of blazing flames. Xiao Chen stood upright while holding his saber. He said indifferently, "Is that so? Let's see how long you can last." Kill. Giving the other party a chance to catch his breath, Xiao Chen did not hesitate to execute Thunder Dragon steps and quickly clashed with Wang Yang again. At this moment, Wang Yang no longer held back. His vast law energy materialized a boundless flame as he moved his fist and palm. With every punch and palm strike, Wang Yang kicked up a huge wave. The flame was like a pillar, burning through the sky. Xiao Chen materialized his flawless saber Dao and materialized the blue dragon battle armor. His body merged with his saber, clashing intensely with the other party amid the thousands of bolts of lightning. By relying on the strong blue dragon battle armor, Xiao Chen's physical body surpassed the other parties by a significant margin. As they clashed head-on, Xiao Chen relied on his skills with the saber and his strong physical body. In this tug-of-war, Xiao Chen actually managed to slowly shift the advantage back to his side. Two figures flickered endlessly in the sky, exchanging blows until the sky turned dark and the ground spun around. The horrifying mysterious phenomena accompanied the lightning and flames made it impossible to see the situation inside. The originally confident Wang clan's people now felt very nervous as they stared at the battle in the sky. However, they were unable to see anything amidst the chaos. This caused the group of people to feel even more apprehensive. Whoosh! Suddenly, a fiery light shot out from the chaotic mysterious phenomena, heading into the distance like a sharp arrow. In the blink of an eye, it disappeared from Scorching Flame Island's perimeter. Its speed was incredible. That is Wang Yang's flowing light flying flame evasion. Damn! Wang Yang actually ran away. It seemed like Wang Yang's evasion technique was very famous. When the group saw that lightning-like flame, they recognized it and were flabbergasted. The overlord of Scorching Flame Island, the half-step Emperor Wu, Wang Yang, was forced to flee by this white-robed bladesman of unknown origins. The lightning and flames slowly scattered. As Xiao Chen watched the half-step Emperor Wu Wang Yang leave, he could not do anything. The other party was a half-step Emperor Wu, and he was determined to flee. With Xiao Chen's current strength, it would be hard for him to keep the other party here. However, with such a result, it was enough to shake the world. A great perfection blue-robed emperor scared away a half-step Emperor Wu. Such news would soon spread throughout the entire northern demonic sea. The Wang clan's people below paled. They had not expected Wang Yang to abandon them and flee. After they reacted, they cried out and quickly scattered. Xiao Chen swept his gaze around and fixed it on Wang Feng. A murderous intent flashed in his eyes. Wang Feng had already made it very clear that if there was a problem, Wang Feng should take it out on him. In the end, Wang Feng even dragged the entire Su clan into this. Such a person deserved to be killed. Xiao Chen's figure flashed. He did not care about anyone else, taking the lead to block this person. When Wang Feng saw Xiao Chen in front, he was startled and immediately turned to flee. However, no matter how fast Wang Feng was, how could he be faster than Xiao Chen, who had already reached great perfection with the Thunder Dragon steps? An electric figure shot out from under Wang Feng's feet. With a flash, Xiao Chen blocked Wang Feng again. This repeated a few times until Wang Feng was on the verge of collapsing. He sank into madness. "I'll fight it out with you." Xiao Chen remained expressionless, cold and silent. He was like an emotionless machine as he drew his saber precisely. Using his flawless saber Dao, he slaughtered Wang Feng. After 10 moves, Xiao Chen chopped off Wang Feng's head with one saber strike. When Xiao Chen looked back, the entire plaza was in chaos. The Wang clan's cultivators had all vanished, fleeing quickly. However, after this battle, the Wang family's foundation and prestige could be said to have been completely scattered. They wanted to rebuild it. If they wanted to rebuild themselves, aside from defeating Xiao Chen, there was no other way. However, Wang Yang, who had already fled, probably would not have the courage to return. After arriving before the Su clan's clan head, Su Tianhe, Xiao Chen handed over some medicinal pills for treating injuries that he obtained from the Thunder King's inheritance. He said, "Sorry for implicating you in the end. Here are some peak-quality king-grade medicinal pills. They should be able to heal your injuries quickly." The Su clan's direct bloodline descendants and elders were all severely injured. Otherwise, they would not have been tied up with ropes. With Xiao Chen's medicinal pills, recovering quickly would not be a problem. Su Tianhe asked, "Did you obtain the Thunder King's inheritance?" Chapter 1206. Xiao Chen understood the other party's meaning. He nodded and said, "I have indeed obtained it. However, don't worry. I will remain on Scorching Flame Island for some time. I will leave after the Su clan stabilizes its situation." After obtaining this promise, Su Tianhe finally revealed a smile on his face. After 3 days, the Su clan controlled the entire Scorching Flame city. The Su clan's clan head, Su Tianhe, was rather capable. Of course, the main reason was still Xiao Chen's tyranny. He had severely injured Wang Yang, the spiritual leader of the Wang clan, and forced him to flee. This had caused the Wang clan's people to lose their fighting spirit. After that, Xiao Chen killed the consummation blue-robed emperor in 10 saber strikes, frightening the group of Wang clan elders. Xiao Chen occasionally made a move, crippling the cultivation of some of the stubborn Wang clan elders. The entire situation stabilized. In merely 3 days, Xiao Chen allowed the Su clan to regain its position as the overlord of Scorching Flame Island. With a flip of his hand, he toppled a large clan. Furthermore, the name of the white-robed bladesman spread throughout the entire northern Demon Sea after that startling battle that day. The news of a great perfection blue-robed emperor forcing back a half-step emperor Wu spread throughout the archipelago of the northern Demon Sea. Since ancient times, not many people had managed to do such a thing. At the very least, the human Demon Sea had not heard of such a thing in the past several thousand years. Several people even secretly compared Xiao Chen to the 10 outstanding talents of the human Demon Sea. As for Xiao Chen's true identity, there were many different opinions as well. No matter where this fellow goes, his glory cannot be hidden. When Dugu Ao heard the news in the Dugu clan's castle, he was stunned for a moment. Then, he knew that this white-robed bladesman had to be Xiao Chen, so he did not find it strange. Back in the 8-star dragon grave, Dugu Ao already knew of Xiao Chen's strength. At that time, Xiao Chen could already fight a regular half-step Emperor Wu to a draw. With his talent and the speed of his improvement, defeating an unknown half-step Emperor Wu wasn't too surprising. As for comparing Xiao Chen to the 10 outstanding talents, Dugu Ao scoffed at it and dismissed it with a laugh. The 10 outstanding talents of the human Demon Sea were all in their 40s, more than 10 years older than Xiao Chen. There was no comparison at all. Even so, Dugu Ao insisted that only the top 5 of the 10 outstanding talents could hold their own against Xiao Chen. The others who were ranked at the bottom would not be a match for Xiao Chen. If they underestimated Xiao Chen, they would lose miserably. "Young master, Miss Mu Xian is here. She is looking for you in the hall." Dugu Ao, who was deep in thought, was interrupted by a servant. However, when he heard what the servant said, he withdrew his unhappy expression. You can leave now. I understand. Duguao muttered, why is she here? Is she here for the human demon paradise? On Scorching Flame Island, Xiaoqin cultivated alone in the quiet courtyard that Su Tianhe arranged for him. After the Su clan stabilized the situation on Scorching Flame Island, Xiaoqin did not leave in a rush. On one hand, he wanted to wait for the injured Wang Yang to charge back and deal with him. On the other hand, he wanted to stabilize his strength. It had to be said that the greatest wealth of the Thunder King's inheritance, the innate Thunder Crystal, gave Xiaoqin too much help. The innate Thunder Crystal directly raised Xiaoqian's will of thunder to peak consummation. Furthermore, the form of the will of thunder became even more divine. Now that Xiaoqin took it out by itself, if an ordinary person saw it, they would not be able to tell that it was a form of the will of thunder. Xiaoqin continued to absorb the energy in the innate thunder crystal. After another 7 days, he felt that his will of thunder had reached its limit, reaching a point where it could no longer be improved. The Thunder King's innate thunder crystal had also shrunk significantly. Xiaoqin could clearly feel the soul of thunder swimming in it through the purple crystal. Xiaoqin knew that this was a sign that his will of thunder had reached its limit and could no longer be improved. If it improved further, it would break through to the innate thunder crystal. However, with his current cultivation, forcibly absorbing Sang Mu's innate thunder crystal and making a breakthrough would be too dangerous. After all, not many people under Emperor Wu could break through to the innate thunder crystal. This was a qualitative change in turning something illusory into something solid. After comprehending the innate thunder crystal, one could control the power of true lightning and many other mysterious changes. The instant one turned illusory into something solid, one's entire body and soul would undergo a baptism of lightning. Right now, Xiaoqin was only a great perfection blue-robed emperor. Even with Sang Mu's innate thunder crystal, he did not dare to try it rashly. At this stage, if Xiaoqin wanted to raise his combat prowess, he could only think of a way to raise his saber soul to 60% comprehension. However, Xiaoqian's saber soul already reached 60% comprehension. Furthermore, he had only broken through recently. If he wanted to make another breakthrough, it would not be easy. Based on a regular blue-robed emperor's cultivation, the current Xiaoqin was already at a bottleneck in all aspects of the blue-robed emperor stage. What Xiaoqin needed to do next was to cultivate quietly and merge the soul in his sea of consciousness with the heavenly seal, forming the vague form of the heart of an emperor. If Xiaoqin did not have a fortuitous encounter and did not have sufficient comprehension ability, he would be stuck at this stage forever, never knowing how to merge the soul with the heavenly seal. If Xiaoqian's comprehension ability was sufficient, he only needed to wait quietly at this stage for a few years. Perhaps in 2 or 3 years, or even decades, he would naturally understand the mysteries of the consummation blue-robed emperor that could only be understood but not explained. Xiaoqin definitely had sufficient comprehension ability. However, he did not have that much time to wait. He could not even wait for 2 or 3 years. It had already been more than a year since he advanced to martial emperor in 5 years. He did not have much time left. Xiaoqin needed to condense a heart of an emperor in advance and overtake others, skipping the 2 or 3 years of waiting to advance to consummation blue-robed emperor. In short, Xiaoqin needed the flower of life, urgently. Outside the secluded courtyard, there was a series of footsteps that kept pacing back and forth, coming and going. Xiaoqin put away the essence stone in his hand and stopped the heavenly seal from absorbing spiritual energy. Then, he opened his eyes and checked with his spiritual sense. He saw Su Tianyun standing outside the courtyard, hesitating on whether to enter or not. After thinking for a while, Xiaoqin roughly guessed why the other party was here. Now that everything in the city was settled, what else did the other party have to worry about? Naturally, it was the Wang clan's half-step Emperor Wu, Wang Yang, who was still alive. Old Mr. Su, if you have anything to say, come in and speak. Xiaoqin stood up and sent a voice projection. Then, he walked out and received the other party in the courtyard. When Su Tianyun saw Xiaoqin, he appeared somewhat hesitant and excited. He did not know what to say. After thinking for a while, he asked, Young Master Xiao, when do you intend to leave? 3 days at the latest, or daybreak at the fastest. So fast? Su Tianyun exclaimed in shock, clearly surprised. Xiao Chen said calmly, I know what you are worried about. Is it about Wang Yang? When Su Tianyun heard that, he heaved a sigh of relief. Since Xiao Chen guessed it, there was no need to hide it. I do not know what to do, either. I know that I cannot beg young Master Xiao to remain on Scorching Flame Island. However, if young Master Xiao leaves, Wang Yang can make a comeback at any time. Xiao Chen smiled and said, given your strength, you can be considered a peak consummation blue-robed emperor. If I give you a divine weapon or an emperor-grade secret treasure, you should not fear Wang Yang, right? When Su Tianyun heard that, joy flashed on his face. However, he immediately felt incredulous. A divine weapon or an emperor-grade secret treasure was extremely precious. Even the 9 ranks of the great families were only that much. Of course, there are additional conditions for me to give you a divine weapon or an emperor-grade secret treasure. Truth be told, my true identity is the Blue Dragon King personally appointed by the Prime of the Bushan Palace, the Thunder King. Xiao Chen slowly said the words that he had prepared long ago, I am the descendant of the Qing Emperor and have my own conferred land in the heavenly starry ocean. If you are willing to accept the divine weapon, then this Scorching Flame Island will be my overseas conferred land, under my jurisdiction. After a pause, Xiao Chen continued, if you are unwilling, I can only advise you to give up on Scorching Flame Island. I will personally escort your Su clan out of this place and find a place for you to settle down in the northern Demon Sea. You should know that the weak are prey to the strong. Even if I help you kill Wang Yang, I won't be able to protect you. You don't have the strength yourself, and if you occupy such a large land of resources, there will definitely be other forces that have designs on you. These words contained too much information, causing Su Tianyun to sink into deep thought. Should he agree or not? Su Tianyun seemed to be in a dilemma. If he agreed, it would be equivalent to surrendering the entire Su clan to Xiao Chen. If he did not agree, it would be as Xiao Chen said. In this world where the strong preyed on the weak, the Su clan would not be able to occupy Scorching Flame Island with its current strength. This placed him in a difficult position, not knowing how to make a decision. Xiao Chen did not force the other party. He did not care. There were not many divine weapons or emperor-grade secret treasures in the Thunder King's inheritance. Giving up even one would cause heartache. Xiao Chen had already done all he could, not letting the Su clan down. The choice would depend on the other party. If Su Tianyun agreed, he could use the value of one divine weapon to expand his overseas conferred land. That would not be a loss. In the future, Kim Taeho's Green Dragon Chamber of Commerce could expand to the Human Demon Sea and develop quickly. Xiao Chen said calmly, Mr. Su, there is no need to rush to answer me. Tell me after you have thought it through. I will not leave before daybreak. Wait a moment. Su Tianyun called out to Xiao Chen, who was turning around. Young Master Xiao, I agree. Xiao Chen turned around and asked, You've thought it through? Determination flashed on Su Tianyun's face. He nodded heavily and said, I've thought it through. I believe that young Master Xiao is a trustworthy person. Xiao Chen waved his hand and said, There is no need to say that. I am not a good person. You have seen my means. However, I do things in an open and above-board manner. I will not beat around the bush. You can rest assured about that. Xiao Chen thought for a while. Among the Thunder King's inheritance, there was only one set of divine weapons, the 7 deadly sins. It was a set of sabers. It would be difficult for a single person to bring out its full might. In that case, Xiao Chen could only give an emperor-grade secret treasure. There were not many emperor-grade secret treasures in the Thunder King's treasure trove, only 4. However, every one of them was not an ordinary emperor-grade secret treasure. After verifying it, Xiao Chen took out a scarlet stone seal. This seal was scarlet and incredibly heavy. When he held it in his hand, it felt like he was holding a small mountain. This is the blood-killing seal. An ancient killing formation is sealed in it. Of course, with our strength, it would be very difficult for us to control the killing formation as we wish. Chapter 1207. However, as long as I release it a little, I will be able to injure the half-step Emperor Wu. If I can lure him to me before making a move, it might be possible to kill him. Shao Chen left his spiritual mark on the divine weapon and a drop of essence blood. First, he made this divine weapon recognize him as its master before handing it to Su Tianyun. To Su Tianyun, he only had the right to use this emperor-grade secret treasure. If he tried to use it to injure Shao Chen, he would immediately counter it. It was not that Shao Chen was overly suspicious. It was just that the human heart was hard to fathom. It was never a bad thing to be more careful. Su Tianyun felt that Shao Chen's actions were very normal. Since the other party gave him an emperor-grade secret treasure, he had to have some countermeasures. If Shao Chen did not, he would not feel at ease and would not dare to ask for this emperor-grade secret treasure, fearing that there were other schemes involved. Many thanks, young Master Shao. In the future, this scorching flame island will be the overseas conferred land of the Dragon's Gate's Heavenly Star Island. This Su will not have any other thoughts, Su Tianyun said extremely seriously after putting away the blood-killing seal. Shao Chen smiled and said, "There is no need to be so serious. I do not care much about authority. In the future, the Su clan will be the same as before." "Oh, right, I have a question. How much do you know about the Flower of Life?" No matter what, Su Tianyun was an expert of the human demon sea. With the cultivation of a consummation blue-robed emperor, his horizons should not be low. He would definitely know some information about the Flower of Life. Shao Chen was about to go and find out more about the Flower of Life. Coincidentally, there was a veteran of the human demon sea before him. It would be a pity not to ask. Flower of Life? Su Tianyun said, "This Flower of Life is very famous. Many experts of the other sea domains come to the human demon sea to seek a Flower of Life. However, it is not easy to obtain now. Although it is not extinct, it has not appeared in the auction house for several hundred years already. Compared to the death fruit, the Flower of Life was not very useful to the mixed blood cultivators of the human demon sea. The vast life chi contained in the stamen was like poison to them. If they swallowed it, they would be in danger of dying. But for experts of other races, it was different. The dense and pure life energy could bring a dying person back to life. Having a Flower of Life was equivalent to having an extra life. Although this statement was somewhat exaggerated, it was a good representation of the Flower of Life's value. Su Tianyun continued, "The Flower of Life is hard to grow in the first place. Furthermore, it is so valuable. It would be hard for it not to go extinct." Worry flashed on Shao Chen's face. He had not expected the Flower of Life to be so hard to find. As far as I know, Death Valley, the birthplace of the Flower of Life, no longer has any flowers of life. Even if there are any, they will immediately attract the Emperor Wu level experts of the human demon sea to snatch them. Shao Chen knew that he did not have the strength to snatch food from Emperor Wu's tiger's mouth. Furthermore, it was still unknown whether or not he had the Flower of Life. It was obvious that Death Valley was no longer reliable as the source of the attack. Shao Chen muttered, "Are there any other places with flowers of life?" Su Tianyun thought for a long time. This question stumped him, he could not think of an answer. After thinking for a long time, Su Tianyun thought of something. He smiled and said, "I forgot about that. There is a snake in the world called the flying dragon snake. Its entire body is not tainted with any life chi. The scales, blood, and flesh all contain the purest aura of death. The flying dragon snake only exists in our human demon sea. To us mixed blood cultivators, it is the favorite demonic beast. Its entire body is a treasure." Shao Chen nodded and said, "I've heard of this flying dragon snake before. However, what does it have to do with the Flower of Life that I am looking for? Don't be anxious. Listen to me slowly. Ordinary flying dragon snakes have nothing to do with you. However, the mutated flying dragon snake in the human demon paradise is related to you. Su Tianyun paused for a moment before continuing, this mutated soaring serpent has a flower of life growing on its head. Due to the existence of this flower of life, it is far stronger than ordinary soaring serpents. The death chi it contains is even denser. Several people have designs on it. However, it is in the human-demon paradise. Emperor Wu cannot enter, allowing this flying dragon snake to roam freely. Instead, it grows stronger and stronger. When Shao Chen heard this, he rejoiced. However, when he heard Su Tianyun talk about the human-demon paradise, his expression turned grave. The human-demon paradise was an ancient remnant of the human-demon sea. Its status was equivalent to the Kunlun continent's savage battlefield. Every time the human-demon paradise opened, it would attract all the peak experts under Emperor Wu. The human-demon paradise had a long history, dating back to the immortal epoch. It was said to be the experiential training ground of a demonic Dao sect during the immortal epoch. There were some demonic beasts or natural treasures in there. To cultivators of other races, they were not very useful. However, for mixed-blood cultivators of the human-demon sea, they were all treasures that targeted them. To demon mixed-blood cultivators, it was not an exaggeration to treat this ancient remnant as a paradise. That ancient experiential training ground was their paradise, a paradise where they could raise their strength quickly. Although I can guarantee that this flying dragon snake definitely has a flower of life growing on its head, I still advise young Master Shao not to target this flying dragon snake. It is simply too dangerous. The human-demon paradise opens once every 100 years. Every time a cultivator tried to target this mutated flying dragon snake, they all ended up dying for nothing. Among them were several strong half-step Emperor Wu. When Su Tianyun saw that Shao Chen was tempted, he cautiously reminded him. Shao Chen did not give a direct answer. Instead, he asked, when will the human-demon paradise open again? There is still 1 more month. A light flashed in Shao Chen's eyes. In that case, it looks like I really have to go. No matter what, going to this human-demon paradise is much more reliable than going to Death Valley. I have to obtain the flower of life. In that case, to Shao Chen, going to the human-demon paradise was not a question of whether to go or not. What mattered was what preparations to make and when to make a move. After the conversation ended, Shao Chen instructed Su Tianyun to help him look for information on the human-demon paradise. The human-demon paradise was very dangerous. Naturally, he had to make some preparations. Although Shao Chen was strong now, he was not arrogant enough to think that he was unrivaled under Emperor Wu. Not to mention the peak half-step Emperor Wu who cultivated profound cultivation techniques and medial-grade profound martial techniques, there were also the 10 outstanding talents of the human-demon sea. The 10 outstanding talents of the human-demon sea were all consummation quasi-emperors, possessing the ability to fight above their cultivation realms. Shao Chen's disadvantage was his age. He was too young, only 31 years old. To the Kunlun realm, where the average age was 500 years old, there was not much difference between him and the youths of the Sky Dome realm. Ao Jiao, how much do you know about the human-demon paradise? What preparations do you need to make? Shao Chen asked. Ao Jiao came out of the immortal spirit ring and poured herself a cup of tea. Then, she replied, I don't know much. That place is a land of experiential training. A sect uses it to test its disciples. As it is a demonic Dao sect, the experiential training there is extremely dangerous. Suddenly, a light flashed in Shao Chen's eyes. He discovered that Ao Jiao was getting closer to a real person. Shao Chen had not paid much attention to it for a while. However, when he looked carefully, he found it exceptionally obvious. Now, Ao Jiao could already eat and drink like a normal person, walking further and further away from the other item spirits. Shao Chen wondered what exactly awaited Ao Jiao in the future. Hey, why are you staring at me? There are no flowers on my face. Ao Jiao put down her teacup and rebuked him with a frown. Shao Chen smiled embarrassedly. Then, he thought of something and said, Little Ao Jiao, actually, you don't need to stay in the immortal spirit ring or the lunar shadow saber anymore, right? Ao Jiao was no longer an existence of energy. She did not need to expend energy to reveal her true form. Theoretically, as long as she was willing, she could stay outside for as long as she wanted. Furthermore, given the special circumstances, there was no need to worry about others recognizing her as an item spirit. When Ao Jiao heard Xiao Chen mention this, some nervousness flashed on Ao Jiao's face. However, it disappeared in a flash, hard to catch. Ao Jiao blinked. Her youthful, exquisite face seemed to contain some anticipation. She looked up at Xiao Chen and asked, "Why are you asking this?" Xiao Chen replied, "Nothing much. If that is really the case, then there is no need for you to stay in the ring. You can come out and get some fresh air." "So, you are worried that I will be bored?" "Hee hee. However, if I come out and stand with you, how are you going to introduce me to others?" Ao Jiao asked mischievously as she blinked and looked at Xiao Chen. Xiao Chen frowned slightly and rubbed his head, feeling vexed. He had not thought about this before. It seemed like no identity was suitable. Just say that she is my younger sister. That's not right. Although she slept for more than 1,000 years, she is indeed more than 1,000 years old. She is much older than me. My elder sister. That won't do either. Little Ao Jiao looks even younger than me. She cannot change her youthful appearance. Say that she is my friend. If that is the case, isn't that too distant? Our relationship cannot be described as just friends. This is really difficult. What identity should I use? As Xiao Chen thought about it, he unconsciously said what he was thinking. Suddenly, he felt that the temperature in the room had turned cold. He raised his head and looked at Ao Jiao, who had a frosty expression, before he snapped out of his thoughts. Who are you calling more than 1,000 years old? I am 18. I am 18. I will always be 18. Ao Jiao flew over and pressed Xiao Chen to the ground. Then, she said angrily with a cold expression. Xiao Chen lay on the ground and looked at the furious Ao Jiao, who was riding on him. He smiled helplessly and said, "All right, I was wrong. I will always be the 18-year-old Ao Jiao." That's more like it. Ao Jiao's expression changed quickly. She lowered her head and smiled. All right, let's go back to the earlier question. If I come out and stand with you, what identity will you use to introduce me? Their current position looked very ambiguous. Although the two of them were very close, Xiao Chen still felt a little strange. Furthermore, Ao Jiao was no different from a real girl now. All right, I'll answer you. However, can you get up first? How can a girl press down on someone else like that? A look of doubt flashed in Ao Jiao's eyes. She smiled and said, "Is that so? Why do I recall that elder sister Ryue pressed down on you like that in the Sky Dome realm?" Xiao Chen laughed awkwardly. He wanted to reason with her but did not know what to say. Chapter 1208. Seeing that Xiao Chen was embarrassed and speechless, a sly smile flashed across Ao Jiao's eyes. Xiao Chen caught this smug look and immediately understood that he was fooled by this lass. In a fit of anger, he flipped over and pressed Ao Jiao down. "You're too daring. You even dare to fool your master." Xiao Chen pressed down on her hand and glared at her. He looked very angry. Ao Jiao looked at Xiao Chen at such a close distance and seemed to be really frightened. She said softly, "Are you really angry? I didn't do it on purpose. Actually, I know what you said is right. But don't worry. Ao Jiao won't treat others like that. She will only press down on you." Towards the end, her voice became softer and softer. Xiao Chen couldn't help but blush. He was a little embarrassed and let his imagination run wild. Xiao Chen's hands that were pressing down on Ao Jiao also loosened a little. Ao Jiao chuckled. She no longer had the delicate look from before. She flipped over and pressed down on Xiao Chen again. She sat on Xiao Chen's body. Ha ha ha. A stupid master is still a stupid master. You are exactly the same as the first time I saw you. Tell me, what were you thinking about just now? Look at how red your face is. Ao Jiao giggled and pinched Xiao Chen's cheeks like a proud queen. Xiao Chen regretted it too late. He still fell for this lass's trick. This lass was indeed a 1,000-year-old shrewd person. He still couldn't win against her. The two of them flipped over and over again. He was still being ridden by this lass. Xiao Chen smiled helplessly. Stop pinching. I was wrong just now. Ao Jiao then stopped in satisfaction and said, do you still dare to pretend to be angry with me? I don't dare anymore. Xiao Chen smiled bitterly in his heart and admitted obediently. Ao Jiao smiled and said, that's right. Although you're a blockhead, what about some things? I also want to teach you that getting angry is a girl's right. Boys can't get angry at girls. Also, don't pretend to be angry, because the girl who cares about you will definitely be very stupid. She will really think that you are angry and will feel sad and blame herself. Xiao Chen looked at Ao Jiao's serious face and didn't know whether to laugh or cry. How did you know that? Idiot, how would I know? I'm talking about myself. Ao Jiao cursed in her heart and changed the topic. Let's not talk about this first. You haven't answered my question. If I stand with you, how are you going to introduce me to the others? How is my cousin? No, this can't show my mature and steady temperament. It's like a child. Am I that naughty? What about cousin? No, I said I'm 18. You're already 31. How can I be your cousin? Auntie, can I? Pa. You're asking for a beating. Think about it seriously. I'm asking you seriously. Think about it, think about it. What about junior sister? Junior sister, this is not bad. However, your master is Lu Ryue. If I am your junior sister, wouldn't I be a generation lower than her? No, no, absolutely not. In that case, whatever you say. Idiot, I'm the one asking you. Seeing Ao Jiao riding on top of him, looking like she was not going to give up, Xiao Chen felt a headache coming on. What should he do with the 18-year-old Ao Jiao? The latter half of the night passed in this playful manner. When the sky brightened, the two of them were somewhat tired. They lay on the ground and stared at the ceiling in a daze. Originally, Xiao Chen only wanted to ask Ao Jiao about what he needed to take note of when he went to the human-demon paradise. He did not expect the night to pass so quickly. Xiao Chen thought about it carefully. It had been a long time since he had played around like this. Actually, no one had changed. Ao Jiao had not changed. She was still that tsundere girl with a bad temper. However, after she blocked the lightning tribulation for Xiao Chen and revived, she had become somewhat silent. Xiao Chen had not changed either. Time passed. In the blink of an eye, 13 years had passed. Xiao Chen's dream of 13 years had never wavered. He wanted to climb to the peak of the martial Tao and leave behind his own legend in this world. He wanted to know if the Qing Emperor was dead or not and how he came to this world. He wanted to know why that old monster from the immortal epoch that he met in the past said that the entire Kunlun realm was an abandoned land. He wanted to know where the people who left their nameless marks on the Sage Mark Monument went. He also wanted to know if there were martial gods in this world and if there was a peak on the path of cultivation. There was also Chu Chaoyun, this mysterious opponent. After leaving Xiao Chen a painting, he vanished from his world once more. There were too many things that Xiao Chen wanted to do. However, he only had 3 years left. If he did not advance to Martial Emperor, everything would be empty talk. No matter how dazzling the light was, it was just a meteor flashing by on this great stage of the Age of Geniuses. Xiao Chen did not know how strong the group of outstanding talents in the distant astral battlefield were. He had not fought with these people yet. How could he be satisfied with just being a meteor? Xiao Chen stared blankly at the ceiling as several scenes flashed before his eyes. He could not bear to leave this starry world. Hey, what are you thinking about? Ao Jiao, who was also lying at the side, turned her head and asked. Xiaoqian smiled and replied, I'm recalling some things and some of my goals. After thinking about it, I still ended up returning to reality. I wonder if I can find the flower of life in the human demon paradise. Ao Jiao smiled and stood up. Then, she pulled Xiaoqian up and said, there is no point in thinking too much. I'll practice with you and give you some confidence. Xiaoqian's heart skipped a beat. Your strength increased again. There were several Holy Spirit veins in the immortal spirit ring. Ao Jiao had been cultivating there all this time. It was impossible for her to remain stagnant. I'm far from comparable to you. However, it is enough to deal with a regular consummation blue-robed emperor. If I work with little yellow feather, I should be able to fight with the half-step Emperor Wu. This was good news. With an additional helper, there would be more hope for their trip to the human demon paradise. The two stood up and went to the courtyard. Then, they bowed to each other. In the end, Ao Jiao only bowed halfway when she giggled and suddenly attacked. She had the pretty face of a young girl and a voluptuous figure. She held 2 sabers in her hands and thrust them into the air. She looked very valiant and graceful. Xiaoqian smiled faintly and did not draw his saber for now. He wanted to test Ao Jiao's strength. As the two sat in Scorching Flame City and prepared, the other outstanding talents of the human demon sea and the many peak experts did not remain idle either. The human demon paradise opened once every 100 years. As the experiential training ground of the demonic Dao sects during the immortal epoch, it was a public land of fortuitous encounters for the mixed blood cultivators of the human demon sea. The experiential training ground of a sect during the immortal epoch was already of such high standards. It was hard to imagine what a glorious age that was. Would Emperor Wu be an ant in the eyes of those strong immortals? Half a month later, Xiaoqian and Ao Jiao, who had been preparing for a long time on Scorching Flame Island, took their leave from Su Tianyun and rode the Flood Dragon War Chariot to the human demon paradise. As Su Tianyun watched the two travel in the war chariot, a look of envy flashed in his eyes. The human demon paradise opened once every 100 years. If not for the danger being too high and the heavy responsibilities of the Su clan's clan head, he would have gone to join in the excitement. The entrance to the human demon paradise was on a desolate island in the central sea region of the human demon sea. That was a bona fide desolate island. Aside from yellow sand, there were no plants or demonic beasts on the island. Normally, no one would come here to join in the excitement. However, as the days of the human demon paradise's opening approached, more and more cultivators landed on the desolate island. Yellow sand covered the entire place, a boundless sea of sand rising and falling, stretching as far as the eye could see. A stone stele stood in the center of the desert. Black smoke spread out, and chains wrapped around it, making it look like a sharp sword piercing the sky. The words carved on the stone stele looked ancient and desolate, adding a mysterious aura to the stone stele. People moved about the desert in all directions. Warships and flying beasts filled the air. Cultivators of various cultivations had already arrived at this desert dozens of days in advance. As a land of fortuitous encounters similar to the savage battlefield, the human demon paradise had extremely dangerous places. Even Emperor Wu did not dare to enter. There were also some ordinary forbidden lands for martial sages and martial monarchs. As long as cultivators of all levels could endure their greed and not wander around, they would be able to gain something from those places. However, it was easier said than done to suppress one's greed. Furthermore, even if one could restrain one's greed, it did not mean that others could and would not try to kill them. Although it was called a paradise, it was actually filled with danger. If one was not careful, one might lose their life. The many cultivators on the desert sea felt excited. Despite their anticipation, they also felt intense nervousness. While the place looked chaotic and unruly, it was actually very orderly. There were many different circles in the stone stele from near to far, showing the strict and cruel division of ranks. As the entrance, the people sitting cross-legged within 100 meters of the stone stele were all half-step Emperor Wu, consummation blue-robed emperor who had lived for several hundred years, or the most eye-catching 10 outstanding talents of the human demon sea. The instant the human-demon paradise opened, these people would immediately obtain the right to enter the human-demon paradise. The reason was none other than that they were strong enough. When the people in the periphery looked at the small circle within 100 meters, they would feel a deep fear. They would not even dare to take a few more glances. Where would they find the courage to enter the human-demon paradise before these people? 100 meters away were the circles for the small perfection blue-robed emperor and the great perfection blue-robed emperor. Further out were the circles for the martial sages. Everything was clearly separated, and the ranks were very orderly. Within these circles, everyone had their own paths. They planned to enter the human-demon paradise together and seek fortuitous encounters. Whoosh! Just at this moment, two figures flew over at lightning speed in the sky. They were a man and a woman. The man wore white and looked delicate. At first glance, he did not look extraordinary. However, when one looked at him for a while, one would feel that he was unfathomable, not daring to underestimate him. The woman looked very pretty, like a young girl. Her exquisite figure was curvaceous in all the right places. With one glance, one could not help but let one's imagination run wild. A small golden bird perched on the woman's shoulder, its eyes filled with spirituality. These two were none other than Xiao Chen and Ao Jiao, who had rushed over with the golden crow holy beast, Little Yellow Feather. However, right now, Little Yellow Feather had not entered a state of combat. It looked very ordinary, like a pet bird. Aside from its beautiful and smooth feathers, there was nothing noteworthy about it.